Hello, for realsies this time. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the next episode of our Umineko playthrough. I hope this is going to be a good one. I think it will be, because this is the episode where we might find out what on earth is going on. Now, as always, there are some content warnings that you should keep in mind. Child abuse, character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, misogyny, and some skeeviness because our protagonist is a teenage boy. So, with that in mind, let's just dive right in. And load one of these saves you keep reminding me to make, which is very useful. They'd eaten breakfast at a coffee shop in the station building. By chance, the inside of the shop had been decorated with Halloween colors since it was October. Maria had seemed to be awfully pleased with that. For quite some time, she talked loudly inside the train about wanting to have a Halloween festival, without caring that she was attracting the attention of others. Halloween is popular in Europe and America, but people aren't that familiar with it in Japan. The shopping district was colorfully decorated with orange pumpkins, but the costume parades of children demanding sweets and saying trick or treat were nowhere in sight.
Ooh, I want a Halloween festival. I don't want to wear these clothes. I want to look like a witch. Ooh.
The family conference isn't for playing. We're going to meet grandfather, so you have to dress up nice. While it wasn't completely full inside the train, it was really packed, with almost all the seats occupied by passengers. Maria was making a fuss among them, stomping her feet on the seat while Rosa scowled at her. Rosa had warned her many times to lower her voice, but Maria hadn't obeyed at all. Once Maria got like this, no matter how much she tried to explain the situation or calm her, she wouldn't listen. Before, Rosa used to pamper Maria and give in to her at times like this, but that had probably been a mistake. Surely, Maria had gained the mistaken impression that throwing a tantrum long enough would make her mother give up and do what Maria said. Rosa had realized that error with the help of an educational book, and since then, she'd hardened the part of her heart that wanted to pamper her beloved daughter. Her mutual understanding with Maria began to grow weaker and weaker, and she began to get discouraged by her own powerlessness more and more often.
Halloween, Halloween. If you don't give me sweets, I'll play a prank. Ooh.
I don't have any sweets to give you. We just ate breakfast.
If you don't give me sweets, I'll play a prank. If you don't give me sweets, I'll play a prank. Ooh.
A stout old woman, who was sitting nearby as Maria stomped her feet, picked a candy out of her handbag and held it out to Maria.
Ooh, I got a sweet. I got a sweet. Look, look, Mama. Mama. Happy Halloween.
Hey, Maria, you can't just accept sweets from strangers, right? Give it back. Oh, don't worry about it. She's such a spirited young lady. How old is she? Maybe there was no malice in the old woman's words. However, Rosa seemed to find that remark extremely humiliating. Maria, haven't I always told you not to accept sweets from strangers?
Ooh, ooh. She gave it to me. Ooh. No, it's mine.
Let go of it. How many times do I have to tell you to do what Mama says?
It's mine. Mine. Ooh. Ooh.
Don't I always tell you not to say ooh?
Ooh, ooh.
Rosa reflexively hit Maria violently on her cheek. In a flash, Maria started crying loudly. Rosa immediately took the candy from Maria's hand and pushed it back towards the dumbfounded old woman sitting next to them. Please, do not just give sweets to my daughter. I'm so sorry. Breathing heavily, Rosa once again held the candy out to the old woman. After getting flustered about what she should say for a few moments, perhaps the old woman realized that her actions may have troubled this parent and child, and she accepted the candy back, apologizing. After that, Rosa finally took notice of her surroundings. Her daughter's clothes were all messed up, she was crying and shouting with her nose dripping, and there were many dumbfounded passengers watching them. Except for the sound of the train running, the interior was completely silent. Fortunately, that pitiful silence didn't last more than a short while. However, it was followed by an even more painful atmosphere as everyone began to whisper. Maria shouted, cried, kicked, and stomped her feet as usual, paying no heed to the people sitting around her. Impulsively, Rosa tried to slap her again, but she noticed the cold eyes of the people in the train, and couldn't. When the train stopped, Rosa forcibly pulled Maria's arm and got off, almost dragging her daughter along. Maria didn't stop crying. Rosa took her to the end of the platform and hit her again. At the moment she was hit, Maria stopped crying for an instant, but before long, she shouted and cried even more than before. Let me just adjust the volume a little bit. Overwhelmed with emotion, Rosa grabbed the nape of Maria's neck and dragged her, tugging at her hair.
Ooh, ooh. Mama, it hurts, it hurts. Ooh.
Didn't I tell you to shut up? That ooh of yours. I told you to stop. That's the reason you can't make friends in class, right? Get a hold of yourself. Why are you still a kindergartner inside your head? Why can't you do what Mama says? Why? Why? With those severe words, Rosa hit Maria's cheek over and over again. The more Maria cried and shouted, the more Rosa hit her. And the more Maria was hit, the more intensely she cried and shouted.
Mama, it hurts. It hurts. Mama, save me. Mama, save me. Ooh.
Why can't you stop saying ooh? This is exactly why you can't make friends. This is why Papa's business trip never ends. This is why excuse me, ma'am, is everything alright? Do you want something? The one who timidly called to her was the station attendant. Rosa glared at the attendant with a look that said, "Don't butt into the problems of a mother and child, stranger." Of course, the attendant surely hadn't wanted to get involved either. However, Rosa had been yelling on the platform for a much longer time than she had imagined. Her emotional scolding had led the passengers on the platform to advise the attendant to call out to her. Rosa yelled at the attendant, saying not to worry anymore, since they'd be getting on the next train. And then, finally, or rather for the second time, she noticed the passengers on the platform staring at her from a distance. Rosa sweat slightly and felt a breeze make her sweat go cold, tormenting her. Maria still kept on crying, shielding her own head. Of course, if this beating continued, she'd probably keep crying indefinitely. I did it. Again. As the terrible heat in Rosa's head faded, she knew she had surrendered her soul to evil again.
Mama, Mama. Mama, come back. Ooh. Ooh.
Rosa fell to her knees and hugged Maria, whose face was all soggy with tears and mucus.
Maria, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mama, welcome back. Welcome back.
Finally, Maria realized that her mother was her mother again. She clung to her mother's body and cried, burying her face in her mother's chest. Forgive your bad mama. Forgive your bad mama. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate your mama.
Ooh, I'm just fine. Won't hate Mama. Mama was only being possessed by the bad witch again. But you came back, so I'm just fine.
Yeah, that's right. Mama was just being possessed by the evil witch again. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. For a long time, the two of them hugged each other, asking for and sharing words of forgiveness. After a while, they calmed down, and both moved back at the same time. Marie's face and Rosa's face were both deep red after crying their eyes out.
Do you want to have a Halloween festival, Maria? Yeah. I wanted to show those pumpkin marshmallows to George Oni-chan and Jessica Oni-chan.
It was a candy they'd been selling near the cash register at the shop where they'd eaten breakfast. A fancy sweet that had a big orange marshmallow in the shape of a jack-o'-lantern attached to the tip of a stick. Marie had wanted it and had insistently pestered Rosa for it. Rosa had refused, saying that there was no way she could buy sweets right after breakfast.
Then, Maria, I don't know if they sell those in this town or not, but let's get off and try searching for them, okay? Yeah. I love you, Mama. Love you so much. Thank you.
I love you too, Maria. The truth was that they didn't have time to waste loitering around at a stopover station. If they missed the airplane, they'd fall half a day behind schedule. She should have left home with more time to spare, but she'd ended up leaving late after choosing Maria's clothes. Because of that, Rosa had been a bit impatient since the morning. She looked at the clock. They had to get on the next train immediately. But her daughter firmly joined hands with her to go buy the sweet with her mother, and that hand was warm. To Rosa as she was now, it was more important to renew her bonds with Maria. To her, Maria was not only a beloved daughter, she was everything Rosa had. Fortunately, they could see a big supermarket right in front of the station. They might not be able to find exactly the same sweet, but Maria would probably be happy with a similar one. Besides, Rosa couldn't show up with a face swelled from crying. She must fix her makeup.
Maybe we won't find a marshmallow exactly like that one, but hopefully we can find something like it. Let's buy some and surprise all your cousins together. Yeah. As long as we buy it together, any sweet is fine.
They exited through the turnstiles of the station in this unknown town. Maria walked across the pedestrian crossing together with her mother, chuckling to herself, as though she was walking in an amusement park. Both faces were still deep red. The two of them, mother and child, smiled warmly at each other, without any restraint.
Dear, what are you doing in a place like this?
Oh, it's you. It's nothing. I just find this a pleasant place to think.
All of our preparations for today have been completed. Why don't we have some tea and relax while we wait?
Forgive me. I'm always making you handle such troublesome matters.
Please. Rely on me even more. I am your wife.
Naturally, I'm grateful to have you always coming to my aid. That's precisely why I'm able to devote myself to my work.
I understand. I understand about your work. And the topic of father's inheritance, right?
That has nothing to do with you. It's nothing more than fishing for rotten meat amongst greedy siblings.
It's okay, dear. Everything will go well. Your businesses have never failed to work themselves out.
Natsuhi softly cuddled close to Krause's shoulder. She complimented Krause on his hard work, but Natsuhi knew better than anyone that his work wasn't going well. Krause's project was something like a seesaw, where a large amount of money swings. Big investments can lead to massive payoffs, but like large seesaws, they tend to shake a lot while moving very slowly, instead of showing immediate results. At times, it's possible to make further investments, so that the seesaw inclines faster towards the side you want. Of course, you'd only do that if you were confident you'd be able to recover all your investments in the not-so-distant future. However, the seesaws Krause chose never turned out as he would have liked it to. His foresight wasn't wrong, but the times were moving sluggishly. They never managed to catch up with him. For example, think of a literal seesaw, placed in a park. It's a really popular item, so there's always someone playing on it. And you've got to wait a long time for your turn. Let's say that one day, you spotted one of those seesaws that was completely unused, and you raced to grab it first and have it all to yourself. However, unless someone got on the opposite side of the seesaw, you wouldn't be able to play on it. What if lots of time passed and nobody came to the opposite end? Seesaws are popular, so if you wait long enough, a companion will surely show up. But Krause noticed something. The weather's getting worse, so nobody's coming outside to play. But seesaws are popular, so surely someone will come along eventually. If he vacated his place because of the worsening weather, it would certainly be snatched away. And once again, he'd end up longingly gazing from a distance at someone else having fun on the seesaw. On one side of the seesaw, he continued to wait patiently, all alone. That was Krause's project, and his current situation. If only I'd had a bit more courage, and the self-confidence to believe in my own foresight, I would never have failed.
Yes, that's true. Your foresight is never wrong. You are the only one who inherited father's resourcefulness. You inherited an innate disposition that none of the other siblings did.
But I could never believe in it. I always shut my own projects down like a coward. Why can't I believe in myself? Who would believe in a man who can't believe in himself? Nobody believes. I'm always sitting on the seat where the losers must sit. And my father, my mother, my siblings all sneer at me. How long is it going to take for me to be set free of this emotional complex? Just how long will it take? Natsuhi was the only one who knew. Only she knew of Krause's anguish. As the eldest son of the Ushiromiya family, who would soon be forced to bear an immense responsibility, he couldn't open his pained heart to anyone, and was always getting compared to his father's great enterprises.
I've made preparations concerning all other matters, so that you will be able to devote your attention entirely to the family conference. Yes, everything else has been seen to.
Thank you. Will there be any problems dealing with father?
No. Genji and Dr. Nanjo are on our side. I'll never allow those greedy siblings to make contact with father.
Hello, Koda here. Yes, please leave it to me. I'm anxious to put my skills to work for the big annual job.
In the kitchen, multicolored ingredients were gathered, and the
preliminary arrangements were promptly being started. Even though it was still morning, the ingredients for dinner were already in saucepans and steaming. Normally, he had to deal with several assorted matters, but on the day of the family conference, he could devote himself entirely to cooking. To Goda, who was originally a chef, this was surely the greatest gala occasion of the whole year. Yes, dinner will be calf steak. A wonderful cut of meat is already anxiously waiting for tonight in the refrigerator. Please, be sure to look forward to dinner. It was rare for Goda to be in this good of a mood toward his fellow servants. Goda bragged about being the Ushiramiya family's personal chef, and knowing he was considered worthy to display his excellent cooking at the family conference was his greatest honor. Understood. I will leave everything to you. Also, is Kumasawa there? Kumasawa-san? I happened to see her earlier, but she is not here. Perhaps she went to get things ready in the guest house. Is she loafing around again? No. It is fine. Please, continue with your work. Yes, leave everything to me, Goda. Oh, Goda. Genji placed the telephone back on the receiver, sighing lightly. Genji sighed once again, thinking of Kumasawa. He was probably hiding again, even though things were this busy. And the ostentatious Goda, who only felt like doing anything on a day when he could show off.
Excuse me. The preparations for all the rooms in the guest house are complete. We received instructions from a lady to prepare a room for 4 people, so that the children can spend the night together. So, what shall we do?
I hear Battler-sama will be coming for the first time in 6 years. Presumably, Milady wants to stay up late into the night with her 3 cousins. Make the preparations. You do not need to tell Madam.
I see. Certainly. So, tonight we'll have the late night shift, followed immediately by the morning shift. It looks like these 2 days will be tiresome. Speaking of which, the weather forecast is saying a typhoon will strike in this area. Will everything be alright?
Assuming the typhoon doesn't stray too far from its course, it may affect the boat ride back for the family members. The family conference's schedule might be extended until Monday or Tuesday. Our task may be a long and tiring one, but I earnestly ask that you take care not to make any blunders. Shannon, remain calm and do not panic. Kanon, be sure to greet our guests in a sociable manner.
Yes, I'll be careful. I'll be careful.
Today we must conduct ourselves in a manner suitable for a very important guest. See to it that you make no blunders.
We understand. All guests who visit here are important.
Kanon, in the truest sense, we will be receiving a very important guest today. Make sure that you are prepared.
Yes, sir.
Shannon, is something the matter? You seem to be uneasy. Do you have some prior engagement at this time?
No, it's nothing. My apologies. Neo-san, important guests will be arriving today. Detach yourself from your private life. I don't know what you mean by private life.
As Shannon blushed just a bit, she turned her gaze away from the clock. Was it about time for the airplane carrying the family to arrive at Nijima? She tried to hide the fact that her upcoming, long-awaited reunion with George was making her heart race. But Kanon, who stood beside her, seemed to see right through her.
Shannon, please don't say a word and accept this.
Inside a bathroom stall, George was practicing something over and over, taking out a small velvet box hidden in his pocket like a quick-draw desert gunman. That's not it. Shannon likes men who are more assertive. I've got to pump it up with more horsepower. Shannon, put this on your ring finger. That's an order, okay? If I don't say properly that it's on the left hand, maybe she'll put it on her right hand. No, Shannon isn't that ignorant, but unless there's some room for her to express her free will, that'd be a little, As he crossed his arms, muttering, someone knocked on the door. George was snapped back to reality. Hey, George-kun, you okay? Got a stomachache or something? Hey, Uncle Rudolph. It's okay, I'm fine. No need to worry. Really? That's good then. But you know, you're straining way too much. Your ass will burst. Rudolph washed his hands, laughing cheerfully as he left. George, realizing that the most embarrassing part hadn't been overheard, relaxed and felt extremely relieved. Kiria, isn't Rosa here yet? Not yet. She's pretty late. It's a good thing the weather's delaying our flight. If the schedule had gone on normally, she would have missed the plane. What did she plan on doing then? Rosa-san is very much an adult now. She'll manage it somehow. No matter how old they get, older brothers always treat their younger sisters like children. Of course, Dad's always a kid, no matter how old he gets. What did you say? If I'm a kid, that'd make you a baby. Come on, Battle-chan, up you go. Stop it, that tickles. Stop. You look more like two bratty friends than a father and son. Oh, look, she's here. Oh, if it isn't Rosa-san. Maria-chan, long time no see.
Long time no see. Ooh.
Maria, shouldn't it be, it's good to see you again? Greet Hideyoshi-san properly.
Ooh. It's good to see you again.
There you go. Well said. How about some candy as a reward? Oh, huh? Where'd I put it? Rosa-san, it's good to see you again. It's good to see you too, Maria-chan. It's been too long, Kirine-san, Hideyoshi-san. And oh my, Battle-kun? Look how big you've gotten. Ah, come on. It's embarrassing to hear that from everyone I meet. Hey, Rosa. You're late. If the plane was on time, you'd have barely made it. I'm sorry. We had some trouble making our train connection. So, are you waiting on the weather again? Oh, don't complain. I much prefer to the 30-minute plane trip to spending 6 hours bouncing on a boat. Even if we're kept waiting here for an hour, it'll still be much faster overall. Is that Maria? You sure have gotten big. She's at that growing age, huh? You haven't seen her for 6 years, right? Of course she's changed. Women are creatures who can be born again in a single day when they have a change of heart. What does that mean? Maria, noticing a big man she didn't recognize mixed in among the relatives, hid behind Rosa's back and glared at Battler. Come on, Battler, say hi. The last time you met her, she was just 3 years old, so you're practically meeting for the first time. Yeah, of course you wouldn't remember something that happened when she was 3. Hey Maria, long time no see. You sure have gotten big. Maria, this is Battler Onichim. Rudolph Nissan's son. Understand?
The brother's son is... The brother is the son?
She was obviously on her guard. After all, it was hardly surprising that she'd be scared if a large guy like Battler suddenly started speaking frankly to her. Battler noticed that as well, and thought of various ways he might approach her. Then he spotted the candy she had in her hand. It was the jack-o'-lantern sweet Rose had bought for her. Oh, I see, it's October, so that must be for Halloween. If you don't give me sweets, I'll play a prank, right? Normally, trying to snatch a sweet away from a small child will result in them crying and screaming. The adults seemed dubious about Battler's tactics, but Maria looked unexpectedly pleased, her face splitting into a wide grin.
Halloween! Halloween! See, Mama, Battler also knows about Halloween. See?
Hey, call him Battler Oni-chan. Sorry, Battler-kun. Oh, no, don't sweat it. Please, call me Battler. Because I'll be calling you Maria. Look, Maria, it's Halloween. If you don't give me sweets, I'll play a prank.
If you don't give me sweets, I'll play a prank. Hehehe.
From inside her purse, Maria picked out a jack-o'-lantern sweet similar to the one she had in her hand, and presented it to Battler. When Battler accepted it, that seemed to be enough to confirm their friendship. The adults were amazed at how good children can be at getting along with each other. Maria had been throwing a tantrum because she wanted a Halloween festival, so Battler, who knew about trick-or-treating, must have felt like an ally. Her defensive posture from before was completely gone. Now she was all cheery, as though they'd been friends for decades. That's right, Halloween's a pretty minor event in Japan. You always see people marching in costume parades on the news from overseas, but I've never seen it here.
I wanted to wear a costume too. Wanted to say trick or treat with all the cousins wearing costumes.
I see. Next time let's do it together. What would you like to dress up as?
A witch. Beatrice.
Oh, milady, what are you doing in such a place? Madam was looking for you. I'm here because I don't want to be found. Anyway, I'm sure she just wants to scold me, like, is her appearance alright, and what's your language? Without a doubt. You know, when the day of the family conference comes, I always start thinking about this witch for some reason. And why might that be? The family conference is the day when everybody related to her grandfather gathers. I hear that this time even Battler's going to be coming after 6 years. What if, just like that, some relative who hasn't shown themselves for several decades suddenly shows up? That's what I'm always thinking about. Could a relative like that exist? I mean, Beatrice-sama. Nobody knows her background. Could she be grandfather's mistress from long ago? What if one of her descendants suddenly appears and tells us to return the gold we were given or something? Kraussam and the others will probably discuss the master's inheritance problem this year too. Once they get so fired up talking about the witch's gold, one could hardly be surprised if the witch herself were to show up, yes? Kumasawa-san. I guess you keep quitting and getting rehired, but you've been here as long as Genji-san, right? You know more about Beatrice, don't you? Who knows? Even if I try to remember, this old woman here can't even recall what you had for breakfast this morning. Kumasawa-san, you're always dodging with those excuses, but you know something, right? Sometimes you feel kinda devious, like you know something and you're laughing behind our backs. That's harsh. I don't have any secrets. The only thing I can say is that Beatrice-sama is the Golden Witch, and that she is the other master who controls the night of this island. Okay, now you're just repeating stuff Grandfather said. It must be a pain to play along with Grandfather's crap even though you get paid for it. However, I can say this much. What? In ancient times, Rokujima was feared and called Azukishima, Azuki being island. The Azuki is said to be a corrupted form of Akujiki, and in fact it was called Akujikishima, Evil Appetite Island. That is what is told among the fishermen. I've heard about that before. Supposedly there's lots of sunken rocks and shipwrecks around here, so the fishermen got scared and stayed away whenever they could, right? Evil spirits settled down in Akujikishima and have continually eaten the souls of people since ancient times. Quite a few people lost their lives because of this island. Hey Lulu, I know. I don't know why this keeps happening. Welcome to the stream. I'm gonna take a quick sip of my tea. Also, I hope you're having a good day. Okay, and then that monk, the traveling Shugenjao, whatever, built that shrine, reposed the souls, and settled them there, right? Sounds pretty crazy, though. And that shrine for the repose of souls was destroyed by an eerie violet thunderbolt this summer, which tore up the darkness of the night. That would be one hell of a plot twist, and that would make us very, very talented indeed. Kumasawa-san, you really like those stories, huh? Okay, sure, it'd be pretty creepy if a thunderbolt took out a shrine. But, well, it was all worn out from the start. Maybe it just got washed away by some big wave. The evil spirits of Akujikishima woke from their slumber and summoned Beatrice-sama. If Beatrice-sama happens to pay a visit to the family conference... If she does? Kumasawa fell silent for a moment. Jessica was pressing her to keep going, so that gap felt strange and eerie. When Kumasawa noticed that she had Jessica plenty scared with her silence, she grinned broadly. Well now, I wonder what would happen. That sounds great. Of course. Won't you be able to do better at work if you get a chance to enrich your heart by living the good life every once in a while? Yep. Can't live right unless both your wallet and your heart are enriched after all. Sure, I'll keep that day open. Go ahead and make reservations. Okay. Don't even think of missing it. Yeah, I'm counting on you. I love you, Kiryu. After kissing the receiver, Rudolph hung up. Before his seat, there were several executives with their sleeves rolled up, eagerly awaiting the end of that phone call. Sorry to keep you waiting. Have we heard anything from the States yet? Yes. You have a call from Dale Watanabe, the lawyer. I'll transfer it. On the whole, how's it going? Well, there does seem to be one unfortunate matter. It appears the other party has no intentions of withdrawing from the trial. Guess there's no fooling them. Please, transfer it here. Understood. I'll do that right away. The executive ordered that the external line be transferred to the secretarial office. At once, the phone in front of Rudolph rang. Hey there. Hello. Sorry for the wait. Ushiromiya speaking. Thanks. How's it going on your end? Hello, President Ushiromiya. Let's skip the pleasantries and jump into the main issue. I've got good news and bad news. Which would you like first? Might as well start with the bad. I hate fighting when there's no desserts. Dessert? Very well. The bad news is that the other party is getting ready to prosecute. Just a few days ago, a similar trial resulted in a decision in favor of the plaintiff. The defendants were using roughly the same arguments we plan to use, but they were rejected in every case. I'm afraid to say it, but if we face the courtroom as we are now, it's extremely likely that each one of our claims will get rejected. So that trial ended up being a total bust after all, and I thought their position was even more solid than ours. That hurts. Alright, what about the good news? I managed to contact the executives of the other party. I explained the situation we're in, told them that we have no intentions of tarnishing their brand's image, and managed to get an understanding. They'll send us their terms over the next few days, and if these are carried out, they promise to withdraw their charges. This is their proposal according to the number two man on their board of directors. Ugh. That was a complicated sentence. I will say, thank you, Fate. There you go. Your impression? To be honest, I expect their terms will be extremely severe. We estimate that changing the company name and brand name will be inevitable. I think we'll be able to earn some leeway, but playing with the amount of settlement money, making a public apology in a major newspaper, and carrying all this out within a reasonable amount of time. They sure are making this complicated when they could just tell us to go broke. They only recently switched to a new president, and their groundwork hasn't been completely laid yet. If we resist until the bitter end, they fear the forces opposing the current president won't hesitate to aid their enemies. Hence, their big shots want this matter settled as quickly as possible too. So we might still have enough leeway to get them to mitigate their terms if it'll lead to a quick settlement. Either way, are we still looking at a crazy sum of money? You need to be prepared for that. Even that would be much cheaper than paying punitive damages. Thank you very much, sir. Please contact me if anything new happens. We're paying you the big bucks, so no idle chit-chat. Thank you. Goodbye. Rudolph hung up the phone. The executives sitting in reception seats seemed to have guessed at the content of that discussion. You guys hear that? Simply put, they'll forgive us if we can pile up enough money. Now, all we've got to do is haggle over the amount of that money.
But, President, the likely sum for the settlement Mr. Watanabe indicated is too much. We don't have that much of a margin.
If we'd known this would happen, we never would have started diversifying.
The calculations were that we could escape a capital crisis if we managed to endure for 3 years. To think we'd be stabbed at a time like this. How bad can our luck get?
I guess we fell at the step of the hop, step, and jump. It's enough to make you cry.
We have no choice but to draw the money from the main bank.
Banks are no good. They only bet their money on winners. The economy is improving, but we can't show weakness to the banks.
President, do we have access to any funds that are unaccounted for? Funds we are unaware of?
Quit it. Do I look like that kind of man? The contents of my wallet are totally exposed to you guys, okay? The account books over there show all our company has.
In that case, we need to raise money. We need a sponsor who can draw in several million for us as soon as possible. President, couldn't something be worked out with one of your personal connections?
President. Calm down, you bastards. Let me worry about raising the money. You guys just keep the business running without making too much noise. Our accusers are saying they'll let us be if we can show them the money. We've already got thick pipelines in Asia. Things will probably be shaky, but we'll be able to maintain our current deals. Basically, if we can just bring the money together, we'll be able to solve all our problems. Just you watch. I'll fix all of this. I won't leave you out in the cold. Time to start getting your hopes up again. Once this is all behind us, I'll be rewarding all of you guys with a champagne tower. I promise you that. So shut up and follow me. Got it? The airplane suddenly shook, probably due to turbulence. Rudolph was jostled awake. He'd woken early that morning and ended up drifting off to sleep while resting in his seat.
You okay? Are you sure you aren't still pretty sleepy? After all, it seems like you've been really busy with work lately.
Being busy with work is nothing to complain about, right? Once I've got nothing left to do, it won't be long before we're out in the cold.
Good point. Now that even Battlerkin's back, we'd be looking at worse than just the two of us going around begging.
Yeah, our family's all together again for the first time in 6 years. So, the leader of our family's got to give it his best if we want to spend some time alone together. When he looked out the window, he saw that the airplane had already started to drop in altitude considerably. The fishing boats, which had only looked like black grains a short while ago, were starting to become clearly recognizable. If I could prostrate myself before Father and get 10 million yen every time he slugged me, I'd do it a dozen times. Or maybe he could just go and die already. I've always depended heavily on his financial support, and now I'm after his inheritance. I'm headed straight to hell. I can hardly complain if Father doesn't want to meet the man I've become. Could it be that, once again, you do not plan on making an appearance at the family conference? Nanjo looked at Kinzo's face, sighing. Kinzo's eyes remained rooted to a strange book on magic. I have no intention of joining those vultures in their debate. They can discuss how they'll suck my bones dry on their own. How utterly contemptible. Words are hard, yo. My, how troublesome. Nanjo shook his head slightly. To him, children and grandchildren were lovely things. He believed watching them grow was the only way to truly enjoy old age. So, Kinzo's words were very saddening to Nanjo. If the time comes for me to leave this room, I will show myself. Just as she does not show herself yet. When Kinzo raised his face, his gaze pointed at the portrait of the witch, which was respectfully displayed on the wall. Kinzo's mind didn't dwell for a moment on the fact that today was the family conference where all of his beloved relatives would gather. It was filled only by the face of the witch in the oil painting, who never smiled, except inside the portrait. Everybody knew that interrupting Kinzo when he talked about Beatrice would trigger his wrath. Today I will hold a certain ceremony. Oh, and what might that be? Perhaps it is closer to a gamble than a ceremony. After all, magic without risk can never house a miracle. Nanjo had heard Kinzo say this many times before. You might even call it a pet phrase of Kinzo's. Kinzo apparently believed that magic and miracles could occur if you gambled your own fate with a certain amount of risk and triumph. I wonder what sort of gamble you're making. As the man who was once called the Golden Gambler, and who's now so old he might pass on at any time. This should be well worth watching. I see. So the secret ritual I have developed after much research appears to be nothing more than a gamble to one unversed in magic such as you. Very well. If I have faith in miracles and win, you will see clearly on this day that all my research did bear fruit, despite it seeming to be little more than the product of my eccentricity. If you win, it will all end just as you have already seen. as nothing more than the eccentricity of an old man who might leave this world at any time. Huh. Just what sort of gamble could you be planning to take? As your friend, that bet or ceremony as you called it, I can only pray most sincerely that you achieve victory in it. Yes, I thank you. Speaking of which, Kinzo-san, have you heard that a much longed-for guest will be present at the family conference this year? What? For once, Kinzo reacted to Nanjo's words and turned around. That's right, Butler-kun from Rudolph-san's family. I hear he'll be coming after an absence of 6 years. I'm sure he's become a splendid boy. Oh, Butler? I wouldn't call him longed for. A guest who's failed to show up for a mere 6 years. After hearing Battler's name and making a disappointed and ill-humored expression, Kinzo turned his back again. I imagine those 6 years went by in a flash for you, considering how you've immersed yourself in your research in this room. However, we might actually receive a visit from a truly longed-for guest. Everything depends on the results of the roulette. The roulette has already started to spin. Will it be rouge or noir? Tonight, let us enjoy ourselves as we see what kind of miracle the roulette will show us. The payoffs are large, and I don't intend to lose. Beatrice, accept my bet. At that time, the telephone on the table rang. The piercing sound seemed to irritate Kinzo, and he picked up the receiver to preserve the silence as much as he could. What is it? I'm busy. Gunji speaking. Everyone has arrived. What of it? Just serve them tea or something. Certainly. I will do so. Kinzo hung up the phone rudely. Looking at that, Nanjo sighed yet again and shifted his attention outside the window. As he is now, I doubt Kinzo would pay any heed to any sort of guest. Could any guest possibly make Kinzo come out when the time comes, as he said? Kinzo had a single person in mind, but that was a guest who certainly wouldn't appear. Nanjo stared at the witch of the portrait, with her impassive expression, unable to decide whether she was smiling or sad, and then gazed up at the lead-colored sky. So, are all the pieces in place? Shall we line them all up again and start a new game? Any objections from you? No, none. The witch looked at him challengingly while elegantly smoking her pipe. And Battler? He just rudely shrugged his shoulders as if he didn't care what she did. He didn't meet her eyes. But that didn't mean he didn't intend to challenge her. It showed his clear determination to never to be taken in by this bastard's tricks. It was an expression of his determination to fight. Don't tell me you're jumping into this without a plan. I don't even know how you'll make your first move, so I've got no plans or anything. Go ahead and move first. Naturally, I'll do so. How shall I break down your defenses? How many moves will it take to checkmate you? This is where you'll see me at my finest. No matter what moves you come at me with, I won't believe in you. As long as I stand my ground on that point, I won't lose. And that means this game is built in a way that makes it impossible for you to win. Perhaps you're right. However, I'm the one who decides how many times we'll hold this game. We'll repeat it over and over again until I win, and you acknowledge your defeat, see? In other words, this is torture. an eternal torture that shall continue until you surrender to me. It shall go on endlessly until you acknowledge me and the existence of witches. Then I'll play your game endlessly, as many times as it takes, until you run out of patience. I've never lost in a test of stubbornness. Huh? Did a certain witch plant that idea in your head? Very well. I'm tired of listening to you ramble. Come on, let's get this started. Then, let us begin. I already know all of your moves. A defense doesn't amount to much if the plan behind it is known. Don't think you'll be able to defy me with the same moves. Beatrice, I've got just one thing to say before we start. What is it? Go ahead and say whatever you want. However, whether I believe you is something I'll decide for myself. No matter how impressive this magic of yours is, my soul won't yield to you. You think this is torture for me? You're wrong. Then what else could it be? This is torture for you. Someday, you will surrender to me and give up. Until then, you will be tortured over and over again. How amusing. What an entertaining metaphor. Torture where we torment each other. Yes, truly amusing. Come, shall we begin that torture? Ushiramiya Battler. I'm hyped. Give me just one sec though. Okay. Every year, the relatives visiting Rokujima would let out a sigh of admiration at the rose garden that first greeted them. They would stop there to chat about the rose's beauty and how well they were blooming that year. In the midst of all this, there was a single unhealthy rose, and Maria became overwhelmed with dejection at its condition. But George used his quick wits, and, saying that everything would be fine if they took care of this poor thing, marked it with a candy wrapper and immediately restored Maria's good mood. Then Battler, with whom she'd been getting along well since that morning, started talking about Halloween. This was such a favorite topic of Maria's that she began playing around energetically again. To Maria, that marshmallow jack-o'-lantern candy, bought by her mother, was probably the greatest sort of treasure. They seemed to have bought several, and she demanded a trick-or-treat from every person she met, giving them candy instead of the other way around. I wonder why Maria likes Halloween so much. I always figured it was a pretty unfamiliar event for the Japanese. Well, it's a kids' festival where they get to parade around in costumes, right? It can be fun to play around in an outfit that's different than usual. I think there's a slightly deeper cause behind it. After all, she's the witch, Maria-chan. Come to think of it, when we were at the airport, didn't Maria say that if she was gonna wear a costume, it'd be a witch? Does she like witches? Yes, she loves them. So much that it becomes a problem. Hey, it's not so bad. You expect kids at that age to love fantastical stuff like that. If it was just a heroine on some TV anime, at least it'd be cute. Judging by Rose's appearance, she wasn't very happy about her daughter's love for witches as a mother. The cousins other than Battler seemed to realize this, and they shrugged, wearing stiff smiles. So, you're arguing that because she likes witches, she also likes Halloween? If we don't know, why don't we just ask her? Hey, Maria. How are Halloween and witches related? As Battler asked that, George and Jessica let out a stifled as if they were trying to stop him, but too late. Maria might have been waiting for just that question. After beaming for an instant, her expression turned a little mean, as if to say, "You're totally clueless, aren't you?" It was the face of a hobbyist who's been ticked off by an outsider saying something stupid about their favorite subject.
Ugh. To the Celts, the changing strength of the sun over the course of a year signified its birth, its growing up period, its aging, and death, and then its revival.
I get it. In spring, the weak warm sun starts to grow up and get hot, and then it gradually gets weaker and worn out. So it sort of makes sense to think of it as the sun living out an entire life.
Yes. So, they thought that at the end of October, the sun died, was laid to rest in the land of the dead, and was then revived at the winter solstice. And the name they gave to the last day of the year, when the sun ended its 1-year lifespan and died, was, I don't know how to pronounce that, Samhain? And they celebrated then.
It's an interesting idea, to think that the sun is revived on the day of the winter solstice, when the daylight hours start to grow longer again. It's a case that makes it clear how much the ancients regarded the sun as sacred. I see. So, what does that have to do with witches? It seemed that my casual urging forward had slightly infuriated Maria. She glared at me with eyes that told me to shut up while she explained. Maria seemed to be having a blast as she talked, so I decided not to interrupt.
In the interval between October and November, life and death become the closest they ever will. The Celts believed that during this time, the world of the living grew closer to the world of the dead and otherworldly beings, and many of those living in the other world would come to visit. It was like the Bon Festival in Japan.
At the time, people believed that souls returning to the physical world would go into people's houses or possess people and do bad things. So, in order to avoid harm, they performed rituals. One of those was to imitate creepy monsters and scare the souls back, which was apparently a way to avoid being possessed.
That part became a festival, which turned into a costume parade.
You really know a lot, don't you, Maria? Ain't that the truth? Even I never knew Halloween had such a history. But where did that whole trick-or-treat thing come from? Her knowledge was so extensive that the adults had suddenly started listening in too. Maria, who was normally treated like the youngest all the time, puffed out her chest with pride. Saying that this was just a kids' discussion, Rosa suggested that the adults go on ahead and set their luggage down in the guest house. But nobody else agreed to go with her, and she let out a heavy sigh.
Ugh. Trick-or-treat is just for fun. It has nothing to do with what was originally a Celtic ceremony. That was created later when Christian customs were mixed in. However, I think it's right for Halloween to be that way.
According to Maria, the souls of the dead weren't the only ones who visited from the non-human world. There are also spirits with intimate connections to people's everyday lives. Humans could receive favors from those spirits, so they'd manage to gain magnificent blessings, as well as a year's worth of good crops. So, basically Halloween was also a bit of a harvest festival? I get it. Now that you mention it, I guess October is a turning point in all kinds of ways, including with the seasons. Sort of the opposite of April in Japan. Yeah, that might be a good place to mark it.
Ew. And also, the witches hold a witch assembly then, called the Sabbath. The witches thank the spirits that give out blessings of prosperity and reward them.
Halloween costumes imitate the guests that come from the other side. In other words, you might say giving out candy is a way to show gratitude for their yearly harvest.
Ew. Just like Giorgio Nichan says.
So, Halloween is a time when those two worlds intermingle? In other words, it's the most important chance for witches to intermingle with guests from that world. Is that what you're trying to say?
Ew. Just like Battle says. And you know what? You know what? October is when the power of witches and demons is at its most vigorous and prosperous. Hehehe, I'm sure Beatrice will come. And then we'll eat marshmallow candies together, and she'll bring me to the Golden Land with her. We'll sing magical songs together, learn magic spells together, learn how to draw magic circles together. And then we'll learn the secrets of the runes, and I'll become a great witch really, really quickly.
My, isn't that wonderful? It's best for kids to have dreams. By the way, Rosa, how old will Maria be this year again? Maria, that's enough of that. Don't worry about it, Rosa-san. It's a dream all girls have at one time or another. Thank you very much, but Maria's already graduated from that age. Hey, I'm telling you to stop. Rosa scolded Maria, trying to shut her up before her cheery discussion about black magic earned her the snickers of the relatives. Oh, that sounds pretty detailed and impressive. By the way, who is Beatrice again? I know I've heard that name before somewhere. Battler had been gone for 6 years, and had completely forgotten about the legend of the Rokanjima witch. However, when he said he didn't know Beatrice's name, Maria's once bright mood soured in an instant. When he saw that, Battler immediately remembered that it was the name of the witch of this island, but the damage had been done. Until Maria's mood improved, she went on and on about many mysterious and fabulous episodes regarding the Golden Witch.
That's enough, Maria.
Thank you, Battler-kun, for letting her chat with you. Kano-kun, don't you have work to do? Please leave now. Koda-san, it looks like everyone wants to set down their bags for the time being. Sorry, but could you guide everyone to the guest house? Certainly. Well then, everyone, allow me to guide you. Then, if you'll excuse me. Goda led the relatives, and they began to head towards the guest house. They were eager to set down their luggage and take a breather, so they didn't realize that Rosa and Maria weren't coming with them. After watching them leave toward the guest house, Rosa's face changed suddenly. She let go with the hand that had been gripping Maria this whole time. There was a bright red mark there, making it clear how much excessive force she had been using on Maria's slender arm. That hand then slapped against Maria's head, pinched her left ear, and lifted. Just gonna repeat this in here real quick. Just so we all are aware. Even though I'm always telling you not to talk about witches, haven't I always said that was our promise together?
Mama, ow, Mama, ouch.
You really do like blabbering on about Halloween all the time, don't you? A festival for witches? Who cares about the Celts, black magic, and all that idiotic trash? You're 9 years old. 9. Because of that scene you made in the train, I went to all the trouble of making a stop and buying you those disgusting monster marshmallows that look like they have fluorescent paint on them. I went out of my way to buy it, even though it made us late. How much more will you embarrass me before you're satisfied? As Rosa cursed, she twisted Maria's ear up, almost as though she was about to tear it off. An expression of anguish spread across Maria's face while she frantically stood on her tiptoes, trying to soften the pain in that ear. Rosa suddenly grabbed the candy that Maria had been holding. She threw it on the ground and stepped on it over and over. To Maria, it was supposed to be proof of a memory, of a brief span of time when her mother had bought something fun for her. But now, that same mother was grinding it into the ground right in front of her. It was as though a brand had been pushed into Maria's eyes, leaving a mark that could never be erased. What's the deal with this disgusting candy? Disgusting, disgusting. It's because you're like that. It's all because you're like that. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. As she said that, she struck Maria's head over and over again with her palm. She didn't hit Maria's face, because the red swelling would stand out. Maria closed her eyes tightly, patiently bearing her mother's violence. No, that wasn't quite it. Come back, Mama. Save me, Mama. Defeat the bad witch. She kept bearing Rosa's assault, muttering that over and over. Didn't I tell you to stop talking about witches? Why you... Rosa, tired from hitting her daughter, breathed so hard her shoulders shook. Maria grasped her hands together, withstanding it, hoping her mother would return soon. Mama, come back quickly. Save me, Mama. Beat the bad witch. Fine, just stay like there, stay there like that forever. Just stand there mumbling about witches and Halloween forever. After hurling those words at Maria, Rosa left in the direction of the guest house, leaving Maria behind. Maria, forgetting even that it was okay to cry, kept staring down at the jack-o'-lantern candy that had been trampled beyond recognition. Oh, Rosa, where were you? I'm sorry. The roses were so wonderful, Rosa, set your luggage down quickly and come with us. We're going to say hi to Aniki. What happened to Maria-chan? Is she still by the flower beds? Yes. It seems she found a rose she likes and insisted that she take care of it, refusing to listen. I decided to let her do what she wants for a while. We sometimes forget that girls have their own little world. Sometimes we have to respect that, right? That's right. Thanks for your concern, Kirine-san. Koda-san, where is our room? I will guide you. This way. Allow me to hold your luggage. I'll be fine. I can carry it myself, thank you. Rosa went into her room, guided by Goda. She then closed the door somewhat violently and threw her luggage on top of the bed. She got down on her knees in front of the bed, burying her face in it. For a while, Rosa made as if to shred the sheets with her fingernails, sobbing constantly. Maria-sama, are you alright? Kanon appeared from behind a thicket after watching Rosa leave. I'm fine. Maria gave a creepy laugh, but to Kanon, who had seen the whole thing, it looked like she was enduring as best she could. She's a horrible person. I can't believe she's a mother.
It can't be helped. You can't expect anything better than that to enter a container of that level. I'm just fine.
Kanon got down on his knees and picked up the trampled candy. It was tragic just looking at it. He thought about dusting it off and returning it to her, but really couldn't do so with it in that condition. Just as he was wondering what to do, he met Maria's gaze. No, that wasn't quite right. Maria was looking at the candy Kanon had picked up. Right now, Maria's heart was surely the same as the candy that had been trampled into a pulp. Kanon realized this, but didn't know what he should do.
That's right. I'll exchange it for the one I received earlier.
Kanon remembered that a similar candy he'd received from Maria was in his pocket. Maria stuck out her hand. Kanon thought she was trying to take it, so he held out the candy, but Maria didn't try to grasp it. Then Kanon realized. She was saying, "Give it back." No matter how tragic and trampled it was, this candy was Maria's. Her mother had bought it for her. No matter how tragic, it had to be this candy and no other. If only it were intact enough that it could be fixed by dusting it off. Kanon hung his head.
Dusting it off is the most I can do. I'm sorry.
Kanon held out the miserable-looking candy Maria wanted. She took it and spoke.
Thank you. A human can't do anything except dust it off, but a witch could restore it to how it once was. It would be easy for Beatrice.
Maria-sama, you know about Beatrice-sama? Except for Battler, there was no way anyone related to the Ushiramiya family could have failed to know Beatrice's name. But just now, Maria had bragged about Beatrice to Battler. She'd spoken almost as though she was meeting with Beatrice regularly. Kanon felt a sharp pain inside his left hand, which was curled into a fist. In the past, a witch called Beatrice had appeared to tempt him and Shannon. He'd always tried to think of it as a bad dream. However, Shannon insisted that it definitely was a real witch. And then, this summer, the shrine to the local Shinto god was hit by lightning, disappearing without a trace over the span of a single night. He knew about Shannon breaking that mirror, and he remembered that, as the witch departed, she said she'd eventually be revived. And now, this girl who believed absolutely in Beatrice spoke as though she'd met Beatrice herself. Kanon couldn't suppress a vague sense of foreboding welling up in his heart. For a while, Maria remained silent, as though she could see into Kanon's heart. Almost as though she was waiting for a memory of Beatrice to be revived. And then she spoke, as though it was a fact.
You know, I'm friends with Beatrice. I'm even gonna meet her today and play.
You're going to play?
Yeah, of course we'll play. We're gonna study magic together.
The face of that witch, whom Kanon had tried to pretend was a bad dream, began to slowly creep into the back of his mind. Father says he's extremely busy with his research. Unfortunately, it seems he'll be unable to come down. Come on. We've put this conference in our schedules and come all the way out to Rokanjima during this crazy busy fall season. You'd think Dad could be at least a bit more sociable. Yeah, seriously. Dr. Nanjo, is it really his research and his mood that are the problem? He isn't already bedridden, unable to get up, right? Well, I wonder. There's not much I can say. Nanjo glanced at Natsuhi. It seemed he thought it wasn't his place to speak without first getting Natsuhi's approval. Father's state of health is better than ever. It would be exceedingly rude to call him bedridden. But he only has 3 months left to live, right? Normally, wouldn't you expect him to be wasted away, unable to get out of bed? Isn't that right, Dr. Nanjo? For a normal patient, that would probably be the case. But Kinto-san has extraordinary willpower. Perhaps that willpower has frightened even the Reaper away. Well, if he's that energetic, then I guess we have little to worry about for the near future, right? Though, if he's got that much spunk, I wish he'd at least come to greet us. Isn't the whole point of this family conference to come and see Dad's face? I'm not sure why we came now. Don't say that. If you were here, you'd complain the whole time about being unable to relax. Shouldn't we celebrate the fact that all of us siblings have gathered this year to spend some time alone? We didn't get to see him at last year's family conference either, right? Can't you understand why his blood children might want to see him after 2 years? If there's anything you'd like to say in greeting, I will tell him for you. Or, Ava-san, is there something you'd like to discuss with Father beyond merely greeting him? Come on, what are you talking about? Sheesh. Give it a rest, Ava. Natsui-san, forgive us. Ava's just worried about Father's condition, as his daughter. Please try and understand how she feels. Indeed. Look how quickly you've grown to respect Father now that you know how much longer he has to live. Yes, I believe I do understand why you want to see him so much. What are you trying to say? Quit it, Aniki. Why don't we pray that this mood will improve by dinner? Anyway, we've only just arrived. For now, we're only here for a casual greeting. And we could even hold the family conference without Dad. In fact, there's a few things we siblings shouldn't bring to him until we formed a unified opinion. Isn't that right, Hideyoshi-Nisan? Yep, just as the rule of Kun says. This is the only time of year we can all meet in person. We gotta take this valuable time seriously and be frank with each other. Even though the tea hadn't yet arrived, they were very determined. But before that, perhaps we can spare the time to enjoy some black tea at our leisure, surrounded by the wonderful furnishings of the parlor. Kirya's words seemed to contain a subtle admonition directed at everyone gathered there. They all understood, and as they cleared their throats and straightened their neckties, the atmosphere in the room returned to normal for a time.
Excuse me. I've brought some tea.
Hey, Shannon-chan. You just keep getting prettier and prettier. Shannon entered the parlor, pushing the serving cart. Everyone decided to relax and enjoy some black tea for the time being. A wonderful aroma began to spread throughout the room. As far as anyone could see, the strained atmosphere from before Shannon's arrival seemed like a lie. Of course, Shannon, who was setting up the tea, probably didn't even notice. Kirya seemed to laugh faintly at how adult everyone was suddenly acting. Rudolph didn't like it when Kirya took the initiative and spoke at the family conference. It was his worthless male pride. He probably didn't want to look like a weak man who took advice from his wife. She understood that and did her best to refrain from saying any more than was necessary. So she separated herself from the circle of siblings, who only superficially appeared to be enjoying some time together alone, and casually drank her tea near the window.
Oh, Rosa-san. I thought you siblings were enjoying some tea alone,
We're enjoying some alone time. Sorry. I can't read today.
You must be joking.
Sorry, don't take it the wrong way. I'm just a little exasperated by my husband. Apparently, Rosa hadn't been able to keep up with that on the surface friendliness. They'd come here to fight bloodily and dirtily, each trying to grab a part of the inheritance for themselves. She probably didn't like suddenly pretending that they were all chummy. Or maybe she was still too immature for that.
It looks like the wind started blowing hard up there. The plants are all shaking so much. The typhoon's probably gotten pretty close already. I wonder if we'll see a lot of rain tonight. Maria-chan has really grown a lot this past year. Does it look that way? She still can't even fold her own clothing yet.
No, it's true. It's because she has such an affectionate mother. She'll grow into a girl with a rich heart. Rosa fell silent. Maybe she was unsure as to what Kiria meant by that. I'm a failure as a mother. Children don't get to choose their parents. That poor girl. Doesn't that go both ways? A parent can't choose what kind of child they have either. Rosa bit her lower lip. This isn't a matter of assigning blame. Isn't it enough that you take your time and watch over her as she grows, conscious of the fact that you'll be living together? You spend every day with Maria-chan, so you probably don't notice the small changes. But the rest of us, who haven't seen her for a year, can see clearly how much she's grown. If you really mean that, thank you very much. Then, if you'll excuse me, if there is anything you desire, please call for it at any time. Shannon bowed politely and left the room. As Hideyoshi and Rudolph, who had a soft spot for women, watched her go, the atmosphere in the room began to revert back to what it had been right before Shannon's visit. If Father can't come down, well, that does still leave us with certain things we can discuss. Right, Rudolph? Yep, that's right. We didn't come all the way out here just to drink some dusty tea, right? Very well. What does this matter that you're clearly so eager to discuss? My. Those people really are determined. They certainly got started quick. I need to join in too. If I don't assert myself, those people will quickly forget that there are 4 siblings. Sounds like you've got it pretty tough yourself. Maybe I spoke too harshly. Forgive me. No, I don't mind. I'm the one who should be apologizing. As a pair of mothers with daughters, we should talk more often. Every single time we meet, we end up talking about something shady. You can blame the atmosphere in this mansion for that. Once you breathe in this air, everyone gets so strained. Just once, I'd like to have a nice, long cup of tea with you, when we aren't attending a family conference. There's a wonderful coffee shop in Ginza that's a favorite of mine. Please, let me invite you sometime soon. Thank you, Kiryu-san. That sounds great. Oh no, the sky's gotten dark pretty fast. I could almost believe the people in this room made the weather worse. There's already thunder. Oh? Was that one there? Huh? There really were small splashes of rain on the glass of the parlor window. The weather seemed to have worsened faster than expected. Just then, a silent thunderbolt struck inside Rosa's head, and she remembered that her beloved child was out in the rose garden. And that's where we're going to take a little break. Because I can't read. But I will be able to after a break. See you all in a bit. Alright, I'm back. Let's dive right back into it. A normal girl would try to go inside if the weather got bad, but Maria was different. She would sometimes get stubborn and refuse to move if rain or even spears fell from the sky. That's right, I told that child to just stay there doing that forever, didn't I? Oh no, Maria. Everyone looked back at Rosa when she let out a small scream. What? What is it? I'm sorry, I'm going to go outside for a second. I'll be right back. Seriously, what's going on with her? Don't worry, she'll be back soon. More importantly, shouldn't we begin? Our main topic. That's right. We can keep talking about that without Rosa. Let's return to our discussion. Rosa dashed from the entrance hall into the rose garden. When she opened the door, the wind that hit her was too strong to be called a light breeze, and told her that the typhoon was approaching faster than she'd thought. Just as Katie had said, the wind was mixed in with small droplets of rain. There was also a low rumble of thunder. It could start raining at any time. Rosa headed for the rose garden. She headed for the place where she had scolded Maria a short while ago. It was almost lunchtime. The children had been told to come to the mansion around lunchtime, so they were probably in the guest house, waiting to be called. Even if Maria didn't come to them, they would surely think I took her to the mansion with me and wouldn't worry much. After all, she had been with her mother, so there should have been no reason to worry. I was here, and I abandoned my daughter to the worsening weather. Maria, are you out there? If you're there, answer me.
Ugh.
I was right. She was still standing stock still, exactly the same way she had been in the place where I scolded her. Held in her hand was the candy that I'd bought, given her, and then stepped on and crushed. With that gripped in her hand, she stood there as the powerful winds whipped her hair about, tormenting her. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Maria. Forgive Mama.
Ugh. Mama, welcome back. I waited a long time for you to come back. The scary witch pinched me, but I stayed strong, waiting for Mama to come back without crying.
Maria, forgive your Mama. Forgive your Mama.
You didn't do anything wrong. You were just possessed by a bad witch again. So I'm fine. I really like you, Mama. I love you.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive your Mama for losing to the bad witch. Rosa buried her face in Maria's small chest, crying and begging for forgiveness. And once again, those tears dripped down after who knows how many times. If only the brilliant sun had been shining on the two of them, all of their cares would have evaporated, and it might have felt like they could begin anew. However, what surrounded the two of them was the worsening weather. Sadly, there were only fierce winds with occasional thunder. The sound of Maria sniffling brought Rosa to her senses. If Maria stood exposed to the wind for too long, she'd probably catch a cold. Okay, Maria, it's almost time for lunch. Why don't you come back to the mansion with me?
Ugh. Won't go.
Why not? Rosa thought she'd already received Maria's forgiveness, so she hadn't imagined Maria would refuse. But that expression on Maria's face didn't look like that of a child resisting her mother, so Rosa couldn't understand why Maria wanted to stand still, pointlessly, as the weather grew even worse. Maria answered that question.
It's Beatrice. She'll be here really, really soon, so I'm waiting.
Maria. Rosa struggled to find words for a moment, then fell silent. They'd only just managed to make up after all. She chose her words carefully, trying to get Maria to come with her to the mansion, without denying the witch outright.
Beatrice is coming? Ew.
Really? Then, instead of waiting here, why don't we wait in the mansion? If you stay in this wind too long, you'll catch a cold.
She'll come. Beatrice will come. And when she does, I'll give her candy. I'll do trick or treat. I'll give her a jack-o'-lantern marshmallow candy and say, Happy Halloween! Ew.
Maria pulled yet another sweet out of her handbag, moaning, "Ooh, ooh." Rosa was bewildered and didn't know what to do, as Maria started being difficult again. At that time, there was a sudden blast of thunder. It was probably a sign. A sign that this island had been sealed off by the storm, detached from common sense and reality. So, after this moment, all common sense would probably cease to apply. The wind blew even stronger, and amidst that blizzard of scattered rose petals, a figure appeared, leaving Rosa unable to imagine that this was a scene from reality. It was probably, no, definitely, fantastical. After all, that shadow of a person was...
Beatrice.
Maria dashed over to the shadow. Normally, Rosa would scold her daughter if she dashed over to someone whom she hadn't seen before and didn't know. But Rosa forgot to do that, was unable to do anything but stand there, stunned. "It's been quite some time. Have you been well?"
Ooh, I've been well. Witches don't catch colds. Ooh.
Indeed, a witch can use curses to make people catch colds, but how foolish would it be if she caught one herself? From now on, you should take care not to catch something like a cold yourself. She patted Maria's head as she said this, smiling roguishly. Rosa couldn't have known the name of the woman who was happily spoiling Maria. However, Maria had called it out at the beginning, when the woman appeared. So, even though Rosa had never met her, even though the woman still hadn't introduced herself, Rosa was able to know her name. However, that name held a special meaning on Rokontima, and in the Ushiromiya family. There's no way something that stupid could be.
Beatrice, happy Halloween. Look what we bought. I'll give you one too, Beatrice. Ooh.
Indeed, happy Halloween. Oh, is this for me? How truly adorable, and a candy would be made out of this. The lonely light of a man lost in the darkness of purgatory, unable to go to heaven or hell. Right now, on this island that has been cut off from both the world of humans and the world of non-humans, there may be no more suitable sweet. Maria, what's wrong with that one? The witch noticed the sweet Maria was grasping. It was Maria's candy, which had been stomped on by Rosa until it reached this pitiful state.
Ooh. Got stepped on and smashed. Can you fix it, Beato?
Maria didn't go so far as to say that this was her mother, that it was her mother who'd stepped on it. However, for some reason, when the witch saw that candy, she looked at Rosa and grinned. A chill went down Rosa's spine, as though this gaze was staring straight through her. It shall be easy. Give it to me.
Ooh.
Maria held the candy out gleefully. Rosa could do nothing but watch, stunned. How did this person plan to trick Maria, somehow undoing the fact that the candy had been pitifully trampled? Maria looked as though she believed it could be fixed good as new. Without real magic, there was no way such a thing could be possible. My, it is quite crushed, isn't it? Come, Maria, close your eyes and try to remember. Because it really was that wonderful a candy. The candy of your memories is always full and fluffy, so you try to remember as well. What kind of candy was it really? Along with those strange words, spoken as though singing an improvised folk song, the witch threw the sweet into the air. Maria was closing her eyes and remembering, just as the witch had told her to. What shape had that crushed candy really had? Therefore, only Rosa saw that scene. The sweet that had been thrown into the air burst into a gold color. No, that wasn't it. Those were golden butterflies. It scattered into several golden golden butterflies, and they began to gather at the witch's hand, which was held up to the sky. And as she did this, unbelievably, it returned to its beautiful original form, no different from when it had been bought. Only Rosa and the witch witnessed that scene. Unable to comprehend what was occurring right before her eyes, Rosa stood with her mouth hanging open, completely forgetting to shut it. You may now open your eyes. Take it. With this, your sweet has been returned to normal.
Ooh, Beatrice is always incredible. Incredible!
There was a stark contrast between Rosa's shock and Maria's innocent joy. Was that what the witch was laughing at? The smile floated to Beatrice's face, one different from the smile she'd shown Maria. Does my face seem familiar? If you stare so fixedly, you might burn a hole through it. I'm sorry. Those words triggered something very clearly in Rosa's mind. Rosa knew this face. She knew it from the portrait of the witch. But no, wait, could this mystery woman really be? Maria, I give you this in exchange for the sweet you gave me.
Ooh, a letter.
The witch pulled a western envelope from her pocket and gave it to Maria. However, when Maria made to open it, the witch stopped her. You must not. The time will soon come for you to open it, but until then, you absolutely must not. Take good care of it. That will be your invitation to the Golden Land.
The Golden Land. So you'll finally take me there.
Take it and treat it with care. You must not show it to anyone.
Ooh, I'll keep that promise. You've always got to keep promises with witches.
And this is for you. Huh? Me? She probably hadn't imagined that the witch would speak to her, too. Rosa was bewildered by the second western envelope, which was thrust before her. She'd seen this type of envelope before. There could be no mistake. It was one of Kinzo's special envelopes, used when he wrote with his own hand and bearing the Ushiromiya family crest. It was sealed with red sealing wax, and furthermore, it had a mark that seemed to have been made by the head's ring. In other words, even without asking what was inside this letter, Rosa knew that this woman, whom Maria called Beatrice, was trusted enough to be placed in charge of a personal letter of the current Ushiromiya head. It could have been any four of the siblings. However, the fact that I've met you here probably means that you were chosen by Kinzo's roulette. So take it. Then read its contents aloud while seated at the dinner table when all of the siblings are gathered. What did you say? Rosa looked back and forth several times between the witch's face and the envelope that had been handed to her. Today was a family conference, and the biggest object of discussion would be the inheritance problem. So, she had joined together with Ava and Rudolph, and they planned to force a certain condition on Kraus to try and extort several 100 million yen in cash out of him. It was as if the witch could see through all of that. What does she intend to announce when all of us siblings are gathered? And with a personal envelope that no one but the Ushiromiya head can use? Maria? The weather is getting worse. Return to the guest house and wait for lunchtime. And Rosa, we will meet again later. Allow me to introduce myself again at that time. The witch turned her back to him, laughing. Then she began to head towards the mansion with an air of composure. Maria energetically called out and watched her go, then began to dash towards the guest house, leaving Rosa behind. As though she wanted to inform the other cousins of her fortunate meeting with the witch as soon as she could. At last, Rosa was left alone in the rose garden as the winds grew stronger. unable to do anything but pray that what had happened was just a daydream. When the witch reached the entrance hall, Genji could be seen there. Genji welcomed the guest approaching from the entrance hall with a respectful bow. I have been waiting, Beatrice-sama. It's been quite some time, Genji. You've gotten old. No matter how old it becomes, furniture carries out its work like furniture until the end. I remember how that man's wife used to be jealous of you. Is Kinzo doing well? He is doing extremely well. Welcome back, Lulu. The witch probably laughed because she knew Kinzo's own doctor had announced that Kinzo didn't have long to live. However, if anyone actually looked at Kinzo and noticed his vigor, which wasn't at all what you'd expect from someone near the end of his life, they might easily call that doing extremely well. Maybe that's what the witch was laughing at. Then let us go and greet him. I look forward to hurling curses at each other after 30 years. As the witch grinned, she started walking, leaving Genji behind. Her gait was like that of a family member who knew the inside of the mansion well. Genji followed her in the manner of one who served her. At that time, Kiria came out of the parlor. She'd probably gone out to fix her makeup or something. And when she saw Genji following a witch, she was surprised, although her expression did not change. A guest for Kinzo had arrived, despite him being almost dead, on the day of the family conference when the fate of the inheritance was to be decided. And furthermore, this person was familiar enough with the Ushinomiya family household that Genji was following behind her. Kiria immediately realized that this person she had never met before was deeply important. Kiria and the witch's eyes met. Realizing that it would be rude to pretend not to notice, she greeted the witch. It's a pleasure to meet you. You are Rudolph's second wife, yes? Correct. This is Kiria-sama, Rudolph-sama's current wife. From this exchange, Kiria realized that this was a guest of fairly high rank, even amidst the Ushinomiya family. And the fact that this was a guest on that level, coupled with a resemblance to the portrait in the entrance hall, made Kiria's eyes instantly open wide. Pleased to meet you. I'm Kiria. I wonder if this is our first meeting. If we have met before, I apologize for forgetting your name. So, you intended to force me to state my name, even though you already have a vague idea of the answer? Kiria thought she'd given a sociable and humble greeting. Her expression grew slightly cloudy at that openly oppressive response. At any rate, this didn't seem to be a person she could grow to like. But if Kiria's guesses were correct, this witch probably held a vital key to what her own husband was most interested in. Something that couldn't help but influence the night's family's conference. So, without shooting back a retort, Kiria silently watched her go up the stairs to the second floor, with Genji following behind. So, when someone tapped her shoulder from behind, she was so surprised she almost choked. It was Natsuhi. Kiria-san, why are you standing still in a place like this? Are you not feeling well? I'm sorry. I was just fascinated by the portrait of the witch for a bit. You mean the Golden Witch Beatrice? The one whose gold was supposedly necessary for the revived Usuromiya family we see today. Quite a fantastical story, just what one might expect from father. Natsuki spoke in a perfectly ordinary way. It was the sort of comment you'd expect from someone convinced that the thought of a witch existing was ridiculous, no more than another of Kinzo's ramblings. However, for some reason, that point of view didn't seem quite right to Kiria now. Just a moment ago, she herself had seen the Golden Witch come in from the entrance hall and climb up the stairs. So, Natsuki's words made it feel as though someone was trying to deny the existence of that person, or else make it seem like she was never there to begin with. I'm sorry, maybe I'm getting a bit of a headache. I think I'll rest for a little while. Oh, is that so? Then I have some good headache medicine. I'll get it for you. The hallway in front of Kinzo's study was filled with the scent of sweet poison, peculiar to that green liquor. Genji, who was completely used to it, did not grimace. And the Golden Witch didn't grimace either. How long has he been in there since last he left? I believe it has already been several years. Is he that desperate to turn me into a bird in a cage? How pitiful. By now, you're the bird in the cage. You're the ghost of the study, are you not? How pitiful that he's unable to recognize even that. Until he meets you again, he will probably continue his research, even after literally becoming a ghost. Is it love, or madness, or a delusion? And yet, perhaps even those can form magical power when strong enough. You sad magician. The witch grasped the doorknob to the study. When she did, there was a sound like that of flesh burning and splitting open. It was the sound of the doorknob literally burning the witch's hand. Beatrice-sama. What is this? A ward against magic. Is that person unable to get by without relying on something like this? Right? It's so good. I've heard that this door would cause you great pain, Beatrice-sama. Shall I open it? No, it's fine. If he wins, I will be a bird in a cage for all eternity. If he loses, only the life of Laughingstock will be left, and the life of a pitiful magician who went mad with love and lost everything. Already, Kinzo and even I, are nothing more than pieces laid out on the game board. All that is left is for the roulette to decide who wins and who loses. Until the roulette shows its result, there is no need for me and Kinzo to meet again. The witch looked at her hand, which was beginning to heal bit by bit, even though it had been horribly burned. Or perhaps that is why he has this ward here in the first place. Yes, perhaps even that is honorable in its own way. And by now, everything sits on top of Kinzo's game board. I like it, Kinzo. Allow me to enjoy my game with you. Allow me to enjoy the failure of the final gamble of the old magician who fell in love with me and threw away his entire life. Who is it? Excuse me. I have brought lunch. Enter. Excuse me. After receiving approval, Kanon entered the VIP room, pushing the serving cart that carried lunch. The servants called this room the Witch's VIP room. That was because Kinzo strictly ordered that it always be kept clean, so that it could be used at any time. Even so, guests would not be allowed into this room, no matter who they were. That's why, at some point, the servants had started calling it the VIP room, which was supposed to be set aside only to welcome the special person Kinzo waited for, the witch from that portrait. And today, Kanon realized that this was absolutely true. When he entered the room, the blonde-haired witch was gazing out the window. Outside, the rain was no longer falling weakly. As she looked out at the beautiful rose garden, which had been tended to over several days for today's sake, as she saw the winds and rain ravage it, was she struck by some sentimental feelings? Kanon was not able to tell anything more from her back, which faced him. I will prepare the meal, Beatrice-sama. Kanon went out of his way to call out the witch's name, hoping that she'd turn around. He wanted to know. He wanted to know if the witch who tempted him and Shannon in the past had really appeared again. When he did, the witch whose name had been called laughed, her back still facing him. Holding back her voice, she laughed. Kanon was startled. It was almost as though she had read his mind and knew that he had called out to her, hoping to make her turn around. It smells good. It appears Kraus hired a good cook. Yes. He is called Goda and was employed here recently. There's nothing better than being skilled at cooking. Delicious food completes the 3 pillars of pleasure for living in the human world. It is the secret to preventing boredom after 1,000 years. Kanon and the witch's eyes met. Then she grinned. Without a doubt, certainly. This was clearly the witch from that day, Beatrice. The witch that no one but he and Shannon could see in the past finally held a form, and had arrived openly as a guest through the entrance hall. Beatrice-sama. It has been a long time, Kanon, the furniture. It has been quite some time. Kanon tried to remember to be polite to this guest for the time being, but the visit of this suspicious witch made dark clouds start to enshroud his heart, especially considering that today was a family conference. You appear to be uneasy about what I plan to do now that I have appeared. Am I right? Kanon didn't force an answer. This witch probably reads minds, so it's pointless to go to the trouble of saying it out loud. Of course, she could read even his inner resistance. So, the witch giggled at Kanon's childish defiance. I came to fulfill my final promise with Kinzo. Your final promise with the Master? I lent Kinzo a mountain of gold. When Kinzo gives that up, it will be returned to me with interest. I came to accept that interest tonight. I do not know what you're talking about. However, uncertainty began to gather in his heart. Whatever this witch had to say couldn't be anything good. There's no mistake. Whenever witches have something to say, it's never anything good. You are correct. However, like scissors, the potential of witches depends entirely on how they are used. Sometimes, there are those like King Solomon who succeed in great exploits. However, those who make use of us end up meeting a cruel fate, just like in fairy tales. But Kinzo is crafty. He's incorporated my collection of the interest into his ceremony. Is he an absurdly powerful magician who can surpass even me? Or else a mere fool possessed by madness? amusing. Truly amusing. Kanon couldn't guess what the witch was muttering and laughing about. All he knew was that anything that made this witch laugh must have the exact opposite meaning for everyone else. And in the back of his mind, the horrifying words the witch had spat at him in the past began to resurface. What? Did you think I'd lend you my power and ask for nothing in exchange? I'll gladly assist a pair in love, and in exchange, I'll enjoy watching the cruel fate they'll eventually meet. I've never come across a better show, not over the course of a 1,000 years. Could it be that you... Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the golden land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. The witch suddenly began to recite a bizarre poem. It was something he remembered hearing. Could it be the witch's epitaph? There was no mistake. It was the epitaph that accompanied the portrait of the witch Kinzo had put on display. The relatives had guessed that it referred to the location of the hidden gold, but no one knew what it meant for sure. The witch suddenly began reciting that epitaph. Kano, since you are furniture, I imagine you've heard about it from Kinzo. The day when everything will be returned to the Golden Land has come. Rejoice. The day when you will be freed from the shame of living as furniture has finally arrived. I believe you've wanted that for a long time. To furniture, which finds no value in its own existence, merely existing day to day must be nothing but agony. To those with souls, this world is worth clinging to, but those without souls find this world to be full of nothing but suffering. Complicated expressions flitted across Kanon's face. This was the day of release that Kanon had been looking forward to. However, the coming of this day had been mercilessly sudden, and for some reason, he didn't like the hateful tone used by this witch as she informed him of the coming of this long-awaited day of rest. Kanon couldn't even decide what emotion he should be feeling. Why do you not rejoice? Could you actually have some regrets left in the real world? As mere furniture? I have no regrets. Because I am furniture. You truly are a model specimen of furniture. How nice, how nice. However, it won't be any fun if you have no regrets at all. Are you saying regrets are how you find pleasure? That is correct. Most witches who live for 1,000 years get tired of life. In order to escape boredom, I adorn people's fates with fruit and brandy and cook them like cakes. I find humans dancing through oppressive fates inside an oven to be so very entertaining. You see, I'm actually a tad famous in this regard. So much so that rare guests come from far away to see my skill at cooking. Perhaps this is something that mere furniture cannot understand. Kanon couldn't understand what the witch was saying. However, he fully realized that this was a terrifying being who treated the fate of humans as a show, enjoying it whenever some harm befell them. However, furniture has no soul or life, much less a fate. Pitiful furniture does nothing but serve until the day they're released from the real world. To furniture like that, the witch, who had come to release them from everything, was a being to be received with overflowing affection. Even though the day Kanon should have been waiting impatiently for had come, he was confused by his own inability to accept it easily. Why was it? The face of Shannon, the person he loved as a sister, rose to his mind. And for some reason, Jessica's face did too. Connell bit his lower lip hard enough that it hurt. Thinking about Jessica like that was something furniture must never do. Even though he'd known that, even though he thought he'd known that, even though he'd complained about Shannon's relationship, why was it that Jessica rose into his mind at a time like this? He felt a little shameful at his own naivety. And to forget about Jessica, he turned his thoughts to Shannon. Shannon is also furniture. She has no reason not to rejoice at the coming of the day when all will return to nothingness. But Shannon, through her relationship with George, has experienced an emotion forbidden to furniture. Even though she isn't qualified to be bonded with him, she's still trapped in a dream that she isn't allowed to have. Will Shannon be able to joyfully accept this development? No, she won't. Shannon still has lingering regrets. Those will probably become a great source of pain and torture for her. And those lingering regrets were planted by none other than this witch. Why? Because that would be more interesting, nothing more. This day that Shannon should have been waiting impatiently for will probably be a harsh burden for her, giving her emotions that she must never experience. I thank you for granting me, us furniture, the day of our release. And I hate you for making this day so difficult for Shannon to accept. I wanted to make you suffer from your regrets as well, just like Shannon. However, you continue to live like furniture with foolish honesty, never getting ensnared by me. And yet, it seems you loved Shannon a little too dearly, right? Shannon's regrets are now your regrets. Will those feelings transform into hatred for me? If you wish to kill me, give it a try. As Kinzo's furniture, you should at least have that much power, right? However, if you kill me, then the day of rest for furniture will not come for all eternity. Could you bear to live with that? Are you truly capable of resisting when I try to release you? Kneel. What? Kneel and kiss my shoes. Otherwise, I will leave this place. I will go back and never show myself again for all eternity. So, Connell, do you think you could bear to live like that? If the door to the Golden Land is open, your hard life as furniture will end. If you desire, I can even give you life as a human. After that, you will be on the same level as Jessica. Surely you want to experience the taste of mine. There's no point trying to hide it. After seeing Shannon indulging in the sea of sweet love, you grew jealous. You are sorely tempted to know the taste of love. Stop it. Are you trying to ensnare me again? I won't be reduced to a toy for your amusement. Then I will be satisfied with Shannon alone. After all, you aren't the only one who was implanted with a seed. Even fruiting plants sometimes fail to bear fruit after all. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these words. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. The witch recited the epitaph again. It was so sudden and diverged so strongly from the current topic. However, that challenging smile made it seem almost as though she was using that epitaph as a threat against Kanon. Do you not understand? For the ceremony of the epitaph to succeed, at the second twilight, those who are close, two who are close, must be offered as sacrifices. It could be any two who are close, a husband and wife, or even a pair of lovers. According to the rules of the ceremony, who will be selected is up to me to decide on a whim. Don't you think there could be no more fitting sacrifice for the second twilight than Shannon as she is now? You dirty... Kanon realized something. Until today, he thought he'd given up everything else and lived as furniture, acting like furniture. But in reality, that wasn't true. He loved Shannon too dearly. Therefore, when Shannon was in pain, Kanon shared in that. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, indifferently, like Kanon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she had taught the taste of love, as she killed her. She wouldn't be welcomed into the Golden Land and granted a compassionate release. Instead, if the witch had her way, she'd be used as a sacrifice, subjected to the utmost of torture and pain, and forcibly turned into a human foundation for this evil ceremony. And this witch would probably make Shannon meet this horrible fate for no other reason than that it was amusing to her. Furthermore, she was threatening to do this so that she could make Kanon, who had never submitted to the witch, finally give in. It was that simple. In the end, though he had tried to resist the witch and avoid pleasing her, he had only made things more amusing for her. After all, he was furniture. No, a toy. They were nothing but toys meant only to distract her from her boredom. Damn it. What will you do, Kanon? If you kneel, I might refrain from choosing Shannon as a sacrifice, see? I've always wanted to make a toy like you surrender someday. Without even a fragment of elegance, the witch sneered Kanon and laughed indecently. That's right, she predicted Kanon's submission even before he'd made that decision himself. Kanon chose to get down on both knees in front of the witch. It didn't happen. It didn't matter what happened to himself. However, the one thing he couldn't bear to see was Shannon, who had given him his only reason to live during his days as furniture, being toyed with like this. That was why. Kissing the shoes of the witch was an easy oath for Kanon to make. When his quivering lips actually touched the witch's shoe, Beatrice let a look of ecstasy rise to her face, then laughed with a voice filled to bursting. At that moment, the witch, who had grown bored of life after 1,000 years, was completely filled with the evil emotion that she lived for. When lunch ended, the relatives moved to the parlor. Rosa had bought a high-class brand of black tea from a famous store in Ginza. That had been served, and the parlor was filled with a pleasant aroma. Since the children were there too, the adults tried to interact like normal relatives on the surface, talking peacefully about recent events and how their children were growing up. It had started raining, so the children couldn't do anything but sit here like this, watching TV, unable to go outside. Maria was apparently a TV kid, and she kept watching a boring daytime program without getting bored, giggling all by herself. At first, Battler joined in, seeming to deepen his relationship with Maria, but he had gotten up early that morning and was gradually hit by a wave of drowsiness. Oh, it was a yawn. Oh, that's a big yawn. Did you get up really early this morning? Well, something like that. Now that all the tension's gone, I've started getting sleepy while listening to the sound of the rain. Tension? You call freaking out like that tension? Well, at least it is for me. Wait, it's another yawn. Battler gave another great yawn and slowly lay down on the sofa. Oof, sorry about that. I'm having a lot of trouble wordsing today. He really did look tired. George and the others had tried talking to him, thinking it was a sign of boredom, but when they realized he really was sleepy, they decided to let him be. My. They say that if you lie down right after eating, it'll become a mackerel. Stop kidding around. Goda-san said we'd be having calf steak tonight. That'd make it mackerel steak. Kumasawa-san, he looks pretty tired. Could you get him a blanket? Here you go. Kumasawa brought a blanket over from the shelf. The large parlor wasn't cold, but the air had gotten a little chilly. So when Battler took the blanket, he immediately wrapped himself up in it like a turtle. You really were sleepy. When would you like to wake up? I'll wake you. Can't say I've got any particular requests. You can wake me up if you need something from me. And if you don't, just let me sleep forever. Good night.
Who? Baller's sleeping. A nap? A nap? Ooh, I'll do it too.
Hey Maria, Baller's sleepy, so you've got to leave him alone. Kumasawa-san, could you give us another blanket? It was doubtful whether Maria really wanted to take a nap. She probably saw Balor wrapped up in a blanket and wanted to do the same. When she received the blanket from Kumasawa, she joyfully wrapped herself up in it and set up camp again in front of the TV. Sheesh. Just when we'd finally gathered all the cousins together after 6 years. This guy doesn't have a clue that he's the main guest of this family conference, does he? I can still hear you. We took it easy eating lunch, and there's even a typhoon and rain outside now. Since I've got nothing to do, it means it isn't my turn yet. I wonder about that. If you have a passive attitude like that and never do anything unless something else happens, your life will be pretty boring, right? No, that's not what I mean. How should I put it? At times like this, I like to think about it this way. It isn't my turn. If this were a play, it wouldn't be my turn to go on stage. So, the best thing to do is stay on the wings of the stage. You're always the main character in your own life, right? Why are you acting like you're in a supporting role? You've got to move forward by yourself and get up on the stage. That's not what I mean. I'm trying to say it's not my turn yet. Whew. Sorry, I'm sleepy and my mind's a mess. Give me a break. Okay, no kidding. You're so sleepy you're spouting nonsense. Let's leave him be for now. Hey, I can't let him get away with saying crap like that. You're always the main character in your own life. I've got serious issues with what Balor is saying. He's just half asleep. Don't take him too seriously. It's just that lack of guts. You know, not wanting to go on stage just because you think you can't be the main character. Something about it just pisses me off. With distant eyes, Jessica gazed out the window at the gray rose garden obscured by rain. When she put her forehead up against the glass, the pleasantly cool sensation seemed to chase away memories she was trying to forget. So, it just wasn't your turn yet? Is that it? Then, just when will you get up on the stage? In that case, who the heck is the main character on this stage? Good questions. Dang, it's like you think you can do whatever you want. What the hell is all this? It's all screwed up. I was merely amused that your reason for denying me was based on whether there were 18 or 19 people. I just tried changing my opening move, no more. Your greatest basis for denying me is simply that I wasn't laid out as a piece of the game board. So, all I have to do is start by focusing on the queen like this. Isn't opening the road for the queen on your first turn one of the classic moves in chess? Quit playing around. There's no way I can accept something like this, right? A witch came in, walked right through the entrance hall, you say? Don't mess with me. What's this? In the last game, I gave you incredible freedom in making your moves, correct? This time, all I'm doing is moving my pieces in response to your moves. Are you already giving up? Right at the start? You bastard. Don't mess with me. Like hell I'd give in. Great move. Go ahead and just move however you like. Okay, so your turn's far from over, is it? Move however you want. Form a huge battle formation while you still can. I'll definitely withstand you. I'll definitely corner you. Come at me as best you can. I don't want you to have any excuses. You weren't even close to making me accept something like a witch. That's right, just now. It looked like Maria's candy was fixed with magic. But you might have actually had another one of the same candy hidden in your pocket and switched them with that little show, making it only look like you fixed it with magic. Yeah, that's right. That has to be it. It's useless. It's all useless. Rosa saw the moment when the candy split into butterflies, correct? Who cares about that? That was a hallucination or a trick, or maybe she just saw it wrong. That isn't a big problem. So, you throw out the part you can't explain as trivia. I see. Is that your move in response to mine? You've dug your own grave. You should have me a battler. It still isn't your turn yet. Allow me to make my move for a little longer. It has barely begun. The turn of the witch. When they started hearing Battler's snores, the relatives went their separate ways, leaving the parlor and letting Battler sleep in silence. Even though it had been so lively in the parlor with so many people gathered there, when all of them scattered at once and were swallowed up by the vast mansion, it created an eerie silence, with no sound except that of the rain. Nope. I haven't met a person like that even once. Aniki? I haven't met them. Kiria-san, is that true? Even I only greeted her briefly when she came to the entrance hall. She looked like she was a bit over 20. I told her my name, but she didn't tell me hers. She was being guided by Genji-san, and I saw her go up to the second floor. So it'd probably be faster to find Genji-san and ask him directly. Still, what a strange term. The mystery woman had spoken to Kiria. Without naming herself, she'd sneered that Kiria should have had a vague idea as to her identity. That brought someone to mind. And then there was her lookalike, the witch in the portrait. Was this person trying to say she was the witch of the portrait herself? I realized she was probably laughing at me for that reason. Even though it was our first meeting, she spoke as though she knew I'm your second wife. Aniki, you really don't know anyone like that? You talk too much. I've never seen a blonde woman like that go in or out of this mansion. That kind of thing doesn't matter. The problem's what happens if that woman starts calling herself Beatrice. She starts calling herself the manager of father's assets. Or maybe she plans to call herself his mistress's daughter and demand that she get a share of the inheritance. Either way, that one heck of a joker slips into the deck. Did Nissan bring her here? Or did father? This is bad. We thought we could manage something if we could corner Aniki in our talks, but this takes us back to square one. I don't know what kind of schemes you've been making when I run around, dear, but it looks like we've been given a little time to form a counter-strategy. Yeah, better to have some time to prepare than to have that blonde-haired Mei-chan suddenly appear at the dinner table and scare the shit out of us. Until we know why she's appeared, there's a limit to the kinds of counters we can make. What could she be after? Isn't it obvious? She's going to claim that she's the rightful heir to father's inheritance. Father is still captivated by Beatrice. If he had a daughter with her, you can bet that he'd want to leave all his fortune to her. She might even thrust some strange will in front of us. If we take it to court, we could probably claim a quarter or the half of it. But it'll probably be impossible to divvy out the inheritance until that's settled. We can't have that. I can't, and neither can you, Rudolph. And the same goes for Rosa, right? Each one of us needs to gather money quickly for our own reasons. It's our biggest weak point. So, what are they after? Kitty, can you guess? This is all news to me, but it sounds like we're starting from the premise that we've got an urgent need to collect money, right? Kiryu-san, in a man's business, you sometimes need funding when you're on the offensive. Please understand that. What's this, Rudolph? You didn't tell Kiryu-san about it? Sorry. I wasn't really hiding it. Actually, it was kinda... It's alright. If you decided that this wasn't something you need to tell me about, I won't press you about it right here. What's more important is finding out what this Golden Witch is after, right? Yeah. Now that you know what we know, can you see how the enemy might come at us? Rudolph had a certain measure of trust in Kiryu's unique thinking technique, chessboard thinking. Of course, it didn't give him any more peace of mind than fortune-telling, but every time Rudolph was polishing up some important strategy, he'd give a great deal of thought to Kiryu's advice. For a while, Kiryu pressed her finger against her forehead, considering. Judging by the fact that her arrival was kept hidden until today, she must be planning to catch us by surprise in some way. We can't tell for sure whether she's after assets or being recognized as a relative. However, her coming was kept secret until today, which probably means that she didn't want us to take any measures against her, something we might have done if we'd known beforehand. So, her goal is probably something that could be hindered if we were to take measures against her. Understand? I get it. So, if she had a will that father had already written, or something that could prove that she's a blood relative, if she had some unshakable, rock-solid proof like that, you'd think she'd announce it beforehand. Oh, that's right. On the contrary, since we're in a position to doubt her, she should have brought a lawyer or an expert and thrust some completely undeniable proof before us. If she could. So the mere fact that she's launching a surprise attack shows that our foe can't win with a frontal assault. Makes sense. If a trump card can win no matter what, it's best to play it out in the open. If you play it in a roundabout way, it might end up weakening its impact. Skipping to the conclusion, you can probably expect to be faced with some huge surprise. Something related either directly or indirectly to the inheritance problem that's on everyone's minds. Our opponent probably plans to overawe us simply by the impact of this shock. However, no matter how great the impact might be, it cannot be absolute. In other words, we have enough leeway to take advantage of this. You've really got brains. Even understanding just this much is really reassuring. In other words, you're telling us to not to get sucked into our opponent's pace. In the end, it's an extremely simple conclusion. No matter what our opponent brings up, we should deal with it calmly, without rushing things. This is just the very first step in the art of negotiation. You really can't say you've predicted your opponent's thoughts with just this. Come on. Just like usual, that was pretty good. Now that we know we've got a little leeway to attack, it helps us relax a bit. What we don't know is how she's connected to Kraus-Nissan. Will it be a surprise for Kraus-Nissan too, or was he actually the one who called her here in the first place? If it's the latter, that might make things very troublesome. That's right. Secretly calling a mystery woman on the day of the family conference. It would be in terrible taste, but it does feel like something Nissan would do. Aniki, let's do this. As long as she can't clearly prove her identity, we won't accept her position in any way. That would be for the best. Already she has refused to introduce herself to Kitty-san. We can't let our conference be disturbed by the statements of some unknown woman. She might even show us proof that she's a blood relative. If she can prove father's blood runs through her veins, like with a maternity record document, there's nothing we can do. It's always possible to suspect that physical evidence has been faked. And even if it's real, in order to prove that the person in the documents is the person we see, we need to check their condition at a hospital. At the very least, it'd be impossible to prove that now, Orokonjima. You're right. So, in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now on Orokonjima, it can't be accepted as true. We can't believe anything until the typhoon passes and they prove it to us at the proper place. Spotting all kinds of holes and stuff like this is Aniki's specialty. We'll be counting on you. Are you joking? You'll be helping too. We need the money. We need it quickly, and a large sum. Our fates are all tied together in this. As if we just stand by and let some suddenly appearing mystery woman destroy the inheritance we're after. Rudolph and Ava always formed a united front as siblings at times like this. Sickened by the idea that their own inheritance might be snatched away by an outsider. Gideon noticed how indomitable they looked, shook her head slightly, and gave a small sigh as she gazed out the window. Outside it was still raining heavily, and everything was grey, having lost all vibrance. The lush garden that the sun had shone on earlier now felt like a lie. For some reason, the words Ava said a second ago kept repeating in Kiryu's head. So, in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now in Orokonjima, it can't be accepted as true. There was an odd nuance to those words. At that moment, the island was closed off by the typhoon and isolated. They had access to no public institutions and no hospital. So, on this island, no matter what manner of proof related to the outside world was shown, it would always be possible to call it a lie. It would be impossible to prove that something was the truth. Now that they were isolated from the outside, all truths whose proof lay in the outside world would be called lies. So does that mean that right now, on this Rokujima, no truth exists at all? Does it mean that everything will now be ruled by lies alone? It almost gives the illusion that we've left the human world of truth and have been shut away inside another world, one of lies. Kiria remembered that woman's appearance one more time. She remembered both what she had looked like and the witch of the portrait. On this island, which has been cut off from the world of humans and shut away in the world of non-humans, a non-human being has come to visit. Kiria couldn't think of the smile that appeared on that woman's face as anything other than a portent of misfortune. I get the feeling my chessboard thinkings missed a vital premise. One that'll be necessary to understand that misfortune-bearing smile. Yes. That smile made me feel as though someone inhuman was mocking me. I based my reasoning on the assumption that our opponent is a human, like us. However, just like this island is now, she may be a being that isn't human, and human values may not matter to her. If that's true, all of our reasoning is useless. For what reason has the witch been invited here today? Only one thing is certain. Now, in this instant, she's staying somewhere in this vast mansion. Maria, around lunchtime today, we met her outside, right? A woman. Who was she?
Ooh, I said it over and over. Beatrice.
Maria, did you ever meet Beatrice before that?
Ooh, I've met her every year.
Every year? In this mansion on Rokujima?
Ooh.
I don't know what "u" means. Is that true?
Yes.
How long have you been meeting her? How many years ago did it start?
Ooh, I don't know.
You don't know? What do you mean? Was it last year? 2 years ago?
Longer than that. Ooh.
Rosa was astonished. Only the Ushiromiya family mansion existed on this island, so there couldn't have been any humans other than themselves here. And yet, Maria said she'd been meeting with a suspicious woman every year during the family conference. If what Maria said was the truth, then that strange woman called Beatrice had been at the family conference every year. That's insane. Is Maria saying that eerie woman was at the family conference every year and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met the woman herself a couple of hours ago in the rose garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion that told her not to accept that existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the rose garden, as the typhoon grew near and the winds roared? Maria, you said you've met with her every year. What do you two do when you meet?
Ooh. We sing songs and learn magic. And I learn how to draw magic circles.
Really? That's incredible. Maria, you often draw scribbles. I mean, magic circles in your notebook, right? Did she teach you that too?
Ooh. You know what? Beatrice drew examples to teach me. Come on, look.
Maria joyfully fished around in her handbag. Then she drew out a single notebook and began opening to that page. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things, and while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
Look here. Beatrice drew it. Ooh.
Each one of the pages in the group Maria opened to had an eerie magic circle. Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa could see that Maria hadn't drawn them. The strength of the strokes, the thickness of the lines, how clean the shape was. By itself, it wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had written it, but it was enough for Rosa to be sure that it was someone older than Maria. Rosa had to accept it now. There really was a person on this Rokonjima that she herself hadn't known existed until now. And this person had come to the family conference every year to play with Maria.
Maria, does the witch Beatrice live here? Or does she live outside the island like us? Ooh, Beatrice is the witch of Rokonjima, so she lives on this island.
So you're saying she's on the island even on days when it isn't the family conference, right?
Ooh.
I don't know what "oo" means. Yes or no?
Yes. Ooh.
What in the... I can't believe it. I can't believe it. How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? I used to live on this island. I lived on this island, passing the time in the mansion in the rose garden, and even so, I never encountered a witch like that. Right?
Mama, what's wrong? Mama?
My head hurts. I was probably getting a little mixed up with my memories from when I was a young girl. When I was young, I was terrified of the witch, unlike Maria. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for terror. Surely, my fear from those days has been revived by the appearance of a woman going by that name. She can't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? That's right. That witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be? Rosa pulled that Western envelope out of her pocket. It was one of the envelopes that bore the Ushiramiya family crest, which Kinzo used for his personal letters. And its red sealing wax had even been sealed by the head's ring, which Kinzo held. Which meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiramiya family head. In other words, it was from father. Why was a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it? And why did she give it to me? That's right. I'm sure she said to read this aloud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? A sense of uncertainty gripped Rosa, as if opening this envelope might let loose incredible misfortune. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted up too, urging her to find out what was written inside before the other siblings could. Using common sense, one might guess that it contained a huge decision, somehow related to father's inheritance. Actually, since she'd received it from a woman who called herself Beatrice, there simply had to be some connection. Does that mean this person wants not just the 4, but a total of 5 people to be included in the inheritance? I need a large sum of money, and I can't wait long. I feel like such a sinful daughter for discussing father's inheritance while he's still alive. But this is no time to spout off cheap ideals. And I've even colluded with Rudolf Nissan and Eva Nissan in order to get some money out of Kraus Nissan. Coming from that position, I can't help but see the appearance of the witch as a sign of approaching misfortune. What could be written in here? I'm sure it's something frightening. Shall I read it secretly myself first? The witch requested that it be read at the dinner table, with everyone gathered. But if that's what she wanted, why couldn't she just read it aloud herself at dinner? why did she go to all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Simply put, is it because she doesn't mind if I read it secretly beforehand? It'd be better to secretly read the contents first. I understand that would mean breaking my promise, but this is no longer the time for cheap ideals. Depending on the contents, I should probably discuss it with Eva-san and Rudolf-Nisan too. They're always really good thinkers when it comes to this kind of thing. When I gulped and put my hand to the red sealing wax, something suddenly pulled on my sleeve and I let out a small scream. What? Maria, don't scare me like that. What is it?
Ooh, you mustn't.
Huh? In Maria's expression was the same portent of misfortune she'd felt from that witch, and it sent a tingle up her spine.
Beatrice told Mama to read that letter during dinner. You mustn't break a promise with a witch.
That's not it. I just wanted to look at the envelope for a second. I'll keep my promise. After all, I always tell you to keep your promises. Of course I keep my promises.
Yes, Mama's a good girl.
That laugh. It isn't cute, so stop it.
Ooh.
Come to think of it, you received a letter too, Maria. What was written inside?
I haven't opened it. Beatrice said I mustn't open it until the time to open it comes. So I'm taking good care of it. Ooh.
I see. You listen well to what Beatrice says, don't you, Maria?
Ooh. I'm Beatrice's disciple, so I listen well to what my teacher says.
I see. Rosa realized something. Mixed in with Maria's gaze was the glint of someone that wasn't her. If Rosa broke the rules and opened the envelope here, Beatrice would definitely learn of it. Because Maria was the witch's disciple. Maria was in contact with that witch. I'll keep my promise. So tell Beatrice not to worry, okay?
Ooh. I'll tell her.
Hey, Maria? If I wanted to speak to Beatrice, how could I meet her?
I don't know. Beatrice is very fickle, so she always appears suddenly. I don't know how a way to get her to meet me. But, you know, she's always watching me. So, if I get in trouble, she'll definitely come and save me afterwards. She's definitely erased her form and is hiding close to me.
Don't I always tell you to stop laughing like that? Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. But it wasn't able to erase the color that had risen to those eyes. A color that seemed to bear a portent of misfortune. Rosa swore. She swore that, at least until I left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow an unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter any longer. Okay. Give me 1 second for a quick water break. Sorry about that. Just had to hydrate. Okay. Maria still hasn't come back. That was the wrong button. There we go. I wonder if she's getting scolded by Aunt Rosa again. Ever since they met Maria at the airport, she'd been romping around, chatting about Halloween the whole time. But maybe she'd cut loose a little too much, acting a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, and during lunch, because Rosa had cautioned her several times. At times like that, Aunt Rosa tended not to scold her much in front of people. More often, she would take Maria aside and scold her alone. So, since Maria had been called off somewhere, they figured she must be getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6. Of course, they couldn't imagine she'd been getting scolded all this time. Maybe it was time for some anime she watched every week to start. She probably hadn't left the mansion's parlor.
Maybe Butler-sama woke up and they've been playing together.
After all, Maria-chan thinks of Butler-kun as a new friend. She must have had a lot of fun when she played Halloween with Butler-kun at the airport. Butler looked like he was having a lot of fun himself. Maybe he's gotten big, but he hasn't changed a bit.
That's true. I get the feeling Butler-sama was gracious enough to remain as he was 6 years ago.
Shannon, do you remember what he was like then?
Yes. Because he was, well, very energetic.
I also remember the 4 of us playing together 6 years ago. Shannon acted a lot like a big sister back then. That's right. I get the feeling she was even more dependable than she is now.
Back then, I, didn't truly understand my place, so, I did quite a few rude things.
Don't worry about understanding your place in that sense. When you're on the job is one thing, but when you're taking your break, and with us like now, I'd rather you stay. You stay and be friendly, just like the old days. That's right. There's nothing wrong with acting differently, depending on whether you're the servant Shannon or off-duty Sayo. You aren't a slave, you're just working as a servant, right? I think of you, Shannon, no, Sayo, as my oldest friend.
Thank you very much, milady.
It seemed that Shannon understood the hidden meaning behind Jessica's words. After all, she'd heard a bit about Jessica and Kanon's history from both of them. Apparently, George had heard something of that history too. He walked towards the window and looked up at the darkening, rainy sky.
Kanon may still be childish in some ways, but I think he's starting to grow a bit in his way of thinking.
Come on, quit it already. Well, I guess I let myself get swept away by the mood once or twice. You know, after watching you two, I might have gotten a bit jealous, feeling like I was getting left behind. But forget about me. More importantly, how's it going between you two? Looks like it's going pretty good, huh?
I wonder.
Yes, it's going very well. Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it easy to see that their relationship was proceeding so perfectly it'd make anyone envious. Dang, I'm jealous. So, does that mean Shannon's gonna resign and have a party soon?
I wonder.
Oh, there's a good question. I wonder what she'll say. George laughed teasingly, as though pressing Shannon for an answer. It was probably the way they usually flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile bitterly and say yes. Yes, thank you, that's enough. I have a dream. I don't just mean some ambition to become the leader of my own domain and business. I also dream of building a happy family together with a partner I can spend my life with. I want 2 kids at the very least. It'd be nice to be able to do some sports as a whole family, and many more things beside that. I often talk with Shannon about that kind of thing, though every time I do, she always laughs and says I'm getting ahead of myself. For some reason, even at the age I am now, I find myself thinking about what it'd be like to live peacefully in my old age, with healthy grown-up kids and grandchildren running around all over the place. If only I could spend the rest of my life at a slow pace surrounded by that, together with Shannon forever. Yeah, you're definitely getting ahead of yourself. But how should I say it? It sounds like you, George-san. Being surrounded by a family like that would probably be so wonderful. The ideal family I've painted in my mind is something like that. To Shannon, who'd been raised in an orphanage, that harmonious image of a family was probably something to be yearned for. And George, who had made an absolute promise to grant that wish for her, may truly have been a fitting person for her to spend her life with. To Jessica, Shannon was a precious friend. George was surely the one most fit to entrust that friend's future to. Well, I don't want to throw cold water on you guys, but Uncle Hideyoshi aside, what are you gonna do about Aunt Ava? Won't it be pretty tough to win her over? There's no reason for anyone to worry about something like that. No one but me gets any say in who I choose to be my partner. I will bring Shannon happiness. Whose permission do I need for that? Whoa. George-san, that was cool. Can't believe you can say stuff like that embarrassing out loud. I don't remember you ever being that kind of character in the past. As they say, if you don't see a boy for 3 days, you should watch him closely. I grow as much as anyone. I intend to study more and more and grow to be the man Shannon deserves, the one who can bring her happiness. Maybe even George realized how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turned very slightly red, and he scratched his head. George-san. It's okay. I'm sure Mother will be difficult, but you can leave that to me. You'll see. I'll make all the relatives accept you as my partner. Awesome. I'm jealous of you, Shannon, seriously. I'm very grateful that you're willing to go so far. Come to think of it, I'm starting to feel like a third wheel here. Maybe I'd better leave, huh? As Jessica rose with a forced smile from the bed she'd been sitting on, the phone rang. Before Jessica picked up the receiver, wondering what this could be about, Shannon looked at the clock and jumped. Apparently, she spent too much time on her break. I'm sorry. I forgot it was time for work. Then, if you'll excuse me. At the same time Jessica picked up the phone, Shannon began dashing out of the room. Shannon. Again, the usual time at the usual place. Yes. Excuse me. Hello, it's Jessica. Genji-san. Yeah, Shannon's going back to you guys now. We held her up. So please don't scold her. Yeah, yes. I see. So it's almost time for them to get ready for dinner. Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen. Preparation for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates lined up there was 19. That was one more than should have been set up. before the annual family conference. I can't accept it. Why can't I deliver it directly? Koda-san flared up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was spitting steam. The master enjoyed eating alone in his study, so his food needed to be served in that room. However, that was something that always happened. Of course, Koda-san would want to set the table for the master with his own hands, since he'd put his heart and soul into his cooking. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the golden eagle crest enter his study. So, while Koda-san would be able to greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking inside. Koda-san was always irritated by this. Of course, he was a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he had piled up plenty of experience from his previous jobs, and he was quite confident that he'd be able to perform in front of Kinzo in a manner that would do him no disservice. And yet, simply because he was not permitted to wear the golden eagle, he still hadn't been blessed with this honor. Can you imagine what damage that would do to his pride? You might think tonight was a repeat of that, but it wasn't. Because tonight, there was a person other than the master who wanted their food carried to their room. Apparently, this person is an extremely rare and honored guest, and had been given strict orders to treat them in the same manner as the master the family had. Koda-san must have wanted to earn some points by serving this honored guest with his own hands. After all, he was an extremely vain person. If he wasn't qualified to serve the master, then at least a guest of the same rank. He simply couldn't find the time during lunch, so Kanon-san had gone in his place. Oof. So he truly desired to personally serve this person tonight's meal, the best dinner of the year. But Genji-san had put a stop to that. Something about how Koda-san didn't wear the golden eagle. After being told once more that he wasn't qualified, Koda-san lost his patience. So heartrending, Koda-san. I cannot do anything more than watch like this from the shadows. Kumasawa-san, if you have enough free time to dawdle around, please get the dining hall ready. Is the tablecloth set? My apologies. When it became her turn to bear his wrath, Kumasawa slid out into the hall. Beatrice-sama is of exactly the same rank as the master. All rules regarding her are to be respected just as much as those involving the master. Koda-san, please devote your attention entirely towards your own task and serve all the relatives. I wouldn't mind if it was you, Genji-san, but is it really okay to let a child like this serve such a guest? If she made some blunder, it would be quite embarrassing. I know they've served here for a long time, but that doesn't mean they've been trained in the proper areas. If you'll allow me to speak freely, they are completely lacking in the fundamentals that might qualify them to interact with such a guest. Koda spoke bluntly, even though Shannon was standing right there in the kitchen. Shannon was the one whom Genji had ordered to carry dinner to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted to wear the golden eagle, Shannon certainly was the second highest in rank. If the highest ranked, Genji, went to set the table in Kinzo's room, then it fell to Shannon to set the table in Beatrice's room. Koda's pride was always horribly injured by this ranking system. At times like this, he'd speak out bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Kanon. Koda kept raising examples of each of Shannon's failures until now, making a ruckus about how she couldn't do this or was terrible at that. Shannon, who listened to this with her head hung in shame, heard Kanon's voice from behind her. Kanon had been leaning against the wall in the hallway near the kitchen area, a blind spot from the inside, and had been listening to all of this. He probably knew that if he entered the kitchen, sparks would start to fly his way. I've got to say it. The man's scum. But
we could learn a lot about the fundamentals of entertaining guests from him. Koda-san has learned so much. He'd be a great reference.
Ne-san, you sure are nice.
More importantly, is the guest in the VIP room really Beatrice-sama, as they say?
Yes. I met her when I was sent to serve her lunch. There can be no doubt it's her.
Really? Was she doing well?
Kanon remembered that he and Shannon had different impressions of Beatrice. To Shannon, Beatrice was a cupid of love, who had granted her magic to establish a relationship with George. Judging by the expression that rose to her face, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Kanon already knew. That witch came here with a terrifying goal in mind. The nebulous witch that only they'd been allowed to see in the past had now revived so fully that she could walk in openly through the front door, and even have a dinner carried to her. Once, when she'd vanished from in front of Kanon, the witch said something about how her own power was still weak. So, if that witch was now appearing so openly, did it mean she'd finally regained her former power? And she said something else too. She definitely said that she'd sown the seeds of love, while fully aware that they would fail. And she said even more. She definitely said that the day had finally come upon which the door to the Golden Land would be opened.
Shannon, she's planning to hold some bizarre ceremony with the Master. And you can bet it'll be something too horrible to imagine, and no one will be able to resist. What are you talking about? She came here. She came here as the Master requested, so that the door to the Golden Land would open, and so that everything would be returned to the Golden Land. She definitely said that to me. In the past, the two of them, as furniture working for Kinzo, had been told what the opening of the door to the Golden Land meant. So Shannon understood everything, without having to ask a single question. And because of that, she felt a deep despair. Something tore at Kanon's heart as he looked at that expression, twisted with grief. How could... Why now? Didn't I tell you? We are furniture. Because you acted like a human, because of love, you're incapable of obediently accepting the day our service comes to an end. Once I wished this day would come, but it never came, year after year. I didn't know how long we'd be forced to endure some suffering as furniture. So I thought that day of rest wouldn't come for all eternity. I thought the same thing, but I believed that it would definitely come someday. So I never forgot that I'm furniture. But, Nae-san, you did forget. It's my fault, isn't it? It was I who... Yeah, it's your fault, Nae-san. If only you hadn't experienced love, we'd both be happy that this day has finally come. You built up too many pointless regrets, even though you knew you'd have to leave this world someday. Will the ceremony begin tonight? Yes. And you said one more thing. Tonight, George-sama will probably give you an engagement ring, Nae-san. That was a fact. George supposedly had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket today, and surely he would hand it over tonight. She brought you two together, planning to use you as the sacrifices of the second twilight. Get it? She tempted you and took advantage of you. I see. I never thought of that. But she told me. She promised that if you don't accept the engagement ring tonight,
You won't be chosen as a sacrifice, Nason. I think our chances of being able to go to the Golden Land together are very slim. There will be 13 sacrifices. Only 5 will be left alive. The chances of us being part of that group are tiny. But if you just accept her offer, those chances will rise. I want to take that bet. Our salvation is in the Golden Land. We're gonna reach that place and gain humanity. And then I want to live life as a human, together with you, Nason. If we do that, we might be able to find true love. In the past, we used to dream about being able to go to the Golden Land. If we go there, any wish will be granted. We'll be saved from this pain. That's what we believed. However, in the ceremony, only a few people would be invited to the Golden Land, chosen by fate and chance. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. However, in the past, Shannon and Kanon had thought that whether they reached the Golden Land or were sacrificed, they would still be released from their duties as furniture. That meant the ceremony would definitely bring release to furniture like them, no matter what happened. I don't like it. Together with you, I want to make up for all the suffering we've endured. I won't become a sacrifice. Nason and I will remain alive, and we'll reach the Golden Land together. So I won't let you become the sacrifice of the second twilight. Please, Nason, don't accept that man's ring. If you don't accept it, she promised not to select you as a sacrifice. I cannot do that. Tonight's ring is very special. My heart won't let me refuse it. Nason, the sacrifices of the ceremony are decided on the witch's whims, and that witch has promised to overlook just you, Nason. You alone will definitely be able to go to the Golden Land. Only me? What about you, Kanon-kun? The witch's game is enough for me. I'll slip through her clutches. I am not powerless. I'll tightly grasp that faint chance. After all, our lives are transient, aren't they? In order to begin our real lives, let's drag ourselves to the Golden Land. Then, we will gain humanity. And when we've done that, maybe I'll be able to experience romance just like you, Nason. Maybe I won't have to make someone cry just because I'm furniture. Kanon-kun, I've had enough of being furniture. I'll definitely become human. I'll escape this pain, no matter what. There were tears in Kanon's eyes. By now, Kanon had noticed. Shannon hadn't been the only one to know and suffer from the taste of love. He had too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day, and Jessica's pitiful face as she tried to smooth things over and stay bright ever since then, had slowly wrought some kind of change on Kanon's heart without him knowing it. Okay. That's where we're going to quit for today. Because it's going very long and my throat hurt. And this is going to be a good stopping point. I will save. And yeah. Just gonna adjust my volume and stuff, and then we're gonna sign off real quick. I say as I'm being very slow about all this. Anyway, yeah, this is a good stopping point. A lot of exciting stuff up ahead. Here comes this. Okay. Yes. lots of exciting stuff up ahead. If everything went well, the highlight video of last week's episode should be still processing. That should be up at some point tomorrow. Hopefully I can get the current one out quick, but you know, if not, then the streams themselves are up. Just be aware that last week's episode, you know, just in case you're coming in to this late, last week's episode had some audio issues during the concert scene, and this episode started a little slow, but that's fine. Other than that, yeah, gonna be back again next week with the next episode. And on Tuesday with another art stream, and maybe some bonus streams here and there in the meantime. But those are kind of like the witch's whim and my whim. Thank you all so very, very much for watching. Still having a lot of fun doing these, and yeah, I really appreciate you watching and hanging out and just taking in the story. And I hope to see you again next time. Have a wonderful evening or day, whichever the case may be, and yeah, thank you again. See you next time.